recording has started. I'm about to go live on YouTube.
Are we live yet, Sean?
Just preparing the stream for us.
Is that what you want?
We're now live on YouTube as well.
Beautiful, thanks. Councillors and members of the gallery, please note that we are about to commence recording this meeting. Your video and audio will be recorded and live streaming from now onwards from that beautiful camera there. Thank you, councillors. I declare the meeting open and I read the civic prayer. Almighty God, help us to duly and faithfully carry out our numerous duties to the best of our judgment and ability for the advancement of this district for the benefit of all who are here to serve. And the Coorong District Council acknowledges the traditional owners of the land on which we meet. Thank you. Apologies, we have none. Acknowledgements. I'd like to, I think most councillors are aware, but acknowledge Bill and Jill Patterson, who received a Medal of the Order of Australia in this year's Queen's Birthday honours list for their service to the community of Menangi, for all of us in a way, and to Bill also for his natural resource conservation. I was privileged to provide comment as a referee in relation to this process, in which I highlighted some of Bill's achievements. And since actually presented me with what I wrote, it's good I might just talk about Bill's calm and collective manner. Is one of the things that I think we all can remember. I think all of us, Councillor Roundtree, you didn't know Bill? Don't know Bill?
Yeah, no.
Taylor, the rest of us on that wood. Bill took a strong interest in what was to become land care in some other people's language, with the prism of a productive rural environment, resilient Lower Lakes and Coorong. Other things I could note here is his reasoned demeanour and firm negotiating skills were invaluable during the period this is amalgamation. It left council in a good position at his retirement in 2006. Now, he was obviously recognised for his roles in land care and land management. He joined the Murray-Darling Basin Natural Resource Management Board, as it was by next Monday or Tuesday. Any council wish to add to that? I haven't acknowledged Jill, sorry. Essentially, Jill, I didn't know the law, but you always, thank you, Councillor Bland, you can help me out.
Thank you. First, I might just start with Bill. A lot of our work has been with Bill in relation to his work around the River Lakes and Coorong, and there's no doubt his quiet demeanour does hold a lot of sway in the area of his knowledge base, and Bill certainly continues to work within the community on the suicide prevention network in the branch as well. Jill is a quiet achiever. She's certainly in the background supporting Bill and does a lot of work within the community within our area, and I congratulate them both on behalf of the community and the work they've put in for many, many years in our area.
Thank you. Any others? Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bill Patterson was our CEO during our amalgamation, and that was my first time to sit as a councillor, and Bill was very supportive of me with my anxious moments and all my questions. But the greatest thing that impressed me with Bill was nothing could frazzle him, absolutely nothing. And I really wish I could do that, but he had great tolerance and great knowledge, and also he was a community man. He was often around, out and about, and with the community, and it was a pleasure working with him. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, we move to item 2 on the agenda, ordinary meeting, including confidential, held on the 19th of May, and we need to add the inclusion of the finance manager in attendance of that. Is that right, Ashley? That was an omission at that stage. Someone move that way, please. Councillor Bland moves. Councillor Roundtree seconds. Any discussion? Being none, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried unanimously. Special meeting, including confidence, was held on the 27th of May. Someone move that way, please. Receive confirmation, confirm those minutes. Councillors Arthur and Councillor Quarlman. Any discussion around that? There being none, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried unanimously. No adjourned business. Minute action list, councillors. Is there anything you wish to raise in that area? Councillor Ling.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Climate change, we were discussing that earlier today. It has been an ongoing issue with the Murray-Darling Association Region 6 and the association in general. We have been proposing a workshop with Bridge City Murray Bridge for some time, and I was approached recently by one of my constituents in regard to the emergency climate change emergency. Where are we sitting at the moment with the workshop and doing something?
So the work, I sent an email this morning actually, Councillor Lang, you may have missed it from getting on travelling. So the workshop is planned for early August. The date is actually, I think, the 18th, so that's already booked into our calendars. Planned for that.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Arthur and then Councillor Bland.
22519, the council contact the local government association regarding rating policy for wind and solar farms. I haven't seen any letters go out or approach being made to the local government association about that. Where is that at this stage?
Sorry, which were you next? Sorry, which-
22519.
Yeah, there's a few of these that have been missed off. So this is still,
Is that on the list we've got in front of us, Councillor?
no. It's been taken off. But it shouldn't be.
Taken off the
It hasn't been done.
Through you, Mr.
It's in
Mayor.
August, it's in August last year.
The rating policy was actually, I was hoping to get that up today. But unfortunately, there were a few other things that we needed to do, so I'm proposing for that to come in July.
This wasn't our rating policy, this is getting the LGA on side regarding rating policies for wind and solar farms,
Yep.
which they haven't got one at this space, because the LGA, because it doesn't affect city, they don't put solar farms in the city. I'm not really worried so much about it, but it is, I think, a big thing for country areas.
As David Hope explained through our workshops, that was now addressed, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Bridget, that solar
Yeah.
farms and wind farms were now being addressed through rating. But that's all going to be researched and presented through in our rating policy as well.
Okay, and when will that be?
July, I was hoping this month, but unfortunately.
And home on Form 19, it's moved by Councillor Bland, the council staff within the community to induct new volunteers to assist in assets, social health and welfare of our communities, and the Chief Executive Officer investigate into the community development role to auspice the volunteer coordinator for alternative and report back to council. Still, we've appointed a volunteer coordinator, but no report has come to council as yet.
That's a relatively new position, and she's just finding fit to be perfectly frank, councillor, and a report around the volunteers will come in the info doc once she's up and running, and so that will be just part of the reporting on a monthly basis.
But I know she's up and running, but I just thought, it is a motion that we get a report and it hasn't come from us.
Sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor, my understanding is things kind of slowed down dramatically in the volunteer world due to COVID. So we've been working with the new employee to work out how best we're going to move forward, streamlined, efficient, etc. So we were thinking we'd wait till we actually have all the information to provide to you.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask is because the volunteer job is not that simple.
Oh,
It has been found by football clubs, for example, that although they've got the okay to do juniors, they just cannot do it under the South Australian Government Volunteers rules and regulations. So, you know, like we've got to really know that we've got that right before we can go into the other bit.
And hence why we haven't got a partial report back to you yet. We're waiting to get all the information to be able to provide you with an up-to-date report.
And yeah, the other one is, this is from February last year, 3419. It's the development of council members and staff travel and accommodation policy.
So you made, that's a policy still that we haven't finished that.
Okay, and also the development of 03519, the development of motor vehicle policy for staff.
So, through you, Mayor, when I apologise, this is, I had to slide some of those policies down because the budget took precedence at the time, so that will come.
But it is in the
Absolutely, in the pipeline.
24619 has been taken off the list. It's a motion regarding the purchase of fuel, storage of fuel, and monitoring and recording. Two of the portions of that have been done, but we still haven't been informed on how we go about purchasing the fuel cards, and that's what that motion was all about, how we look into that.
Through you, Mayor, but I'll start that conversation. So I think I answered some of that in an email, in that the tank now at Bend is an electronic one, so that has swipe cards associated with it, and David can give you the details. With our vehicles now, we've moved over from fuel cards being actually allocated to a person to them being allocated to a car. So we'll be able to track and monitor fuel usage based on those cards and the odometer reading, which wasn't in place before.
Yes, that is right. That was point 2 and point 3 of the motion. Point 1 was how we purchased our car and how the fuel cards. So in other words, how we went out, put our fuel contract out, or do we put our fuel contract out?
So,
That was point 1.
through you, Mayor, I'll take it on notice, but I know assumes a big word, but I would expect it through a procurement process. And I don't know when it's ready, but I'll take that on notice.
Okay.
Before we, sorry, before we just quickly move on from that, the CEO mentions that all the credit card fuel purchases have gone to vehicles now. Perhaps David will give us a better explanation. How do we purchase fuel for our lawnmowers, chainsaws, anything not being a vehicle?
So through you, Mayor, we wouldn't normally use a fuel card to do that. They would just build up at the depot, is my assumption.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. You're right. So fuel cards now are allocated to the vehicle, not the officer. There are a couple of examples where we have a team that requires unleaded fuel, and given that we don't have unleaded fuel at the depot, they're required to purchase fuel on the fuel card that's specifically allocated for minor plant. So it is a small allowance on that fuel card that allows him to get the fuel for the mowers and so on.
The next one, which is no longer on the list, but it hasn't been answered, is 00419. And this is, and I just find it unbelievable we cannot, this information is on the platform. So we've got a formal report listing the land occupied and unoccupied, which is owned or under control of the council. You know, I cannot believe it. We have not got the facilities to tell us what we're in charge of.
Do you, Mayor? I concur.
So,
So we have been trying, and Deb can answer this, so directly can answer this more, but we've been chasing that information for, my understanding, for quite a few months now.
quite a few months. Upon my arrival, I, like you, wanted to know what's our land, what are we leasing, what's Crown land under our care and control, etc. I was unable to confidently get that information from our records here. So I put to our property manager to go direct to LTO, basically just get it from them, they'll have it. And we are still waiting. And he is chasing them up. So I haven't asked him in the last 2 weeks where it's at, so I can take that on notice and get that back to you as to where it's at. I agree.
But through you, Mayor, it's not from lack of trying.
Yeah, well, I supplied to previous corporate and community director, the folders which the council had gone through the painful recognition of all the land that we own, whether we were going to sell it or not, going back some 6 years ago. They couldn't find it in their own records, but I still have the records of them, and I gave them to Nat, and she was processing and then gave them back to me. So, and that was a record.
I can't comment on what's gone before, but I know that we are doing our darndest to get that record.
Through you, Mr Mayor, 6 years is a long time when it comes to property. Road closures, all of that need to become community land. So I would be more confident getting it from LTO. No disrespect to what you provided, but 6 years is a long time when it comes to property in local government, and I don't believe we've been doing community land management plans, etc. So I wanted to get all the information, then we maintain it through the procedures.
Could I just then ask another question? What sort of records do we keep?
Around land, not as comprehensive as we'd like.
Sorry?
Not as comprehensive as we might like.
We may have,
Or are required to do. And that's not a reflection on anybody from council, that's just how, and this council's not alone in not understanding down to the final detail what they are. So every council goes through this at some point, and so to think that we, our record keeping is probably not up to where we want it to be is probably correct, but, and I'm not sure it's any comfort, but we're also not alone in that.
Also, would you be using local knowledge with your property officer who, you know, like the property officer is not a local, hasn't been in for a long time, but Councillor Yent, for example, would know probably 99.9% of the properties that the council have got care control.
So
Surely would be using that expertise.
due respect, council, we may use it as a checking process, but it wouldn't be the starting point.
And I'm happy to participate at any time.
And the last one is also has dropped off the list, but we haven't had a response to it, is I don't know, what do you call it, the camera set up on the Lutheran Church at Canalpin, which the council installed. And the response from the original one was from the acting CEO. There's some sort of verbal agreement that's previously made between each staff and the Canalpin United Church. On repeated this question from notice, staff have been investigating history associated with the arrangement. Staff continue to investigate how it has taken significant time to uncover this historical information. And the response is not able to be provided at this time. It is anticipated staff will be able to provide a response to the members at the December meeting of council.
I think you're referring to the Uniting Church. I thought it was the word Lutheran initially.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh,
sorry, it's Uniting Church. Yeah.
So this is in relation to that frame
And parking bay and
Yeah.
Dave.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll take it on notice to be able to provide further detail. My understanding is that we have allocated that frame to the church, and it's no longer our property or considered our property. And I thought that had been closed down.
Yeah, but also as part of that, maybe it is the Lutheran Church is now a designated parking area. We have got a parking sign there, and we look after it. So somewhere along the line, we've got a responsibility, or we've taken on a responsibility for that area.
Find out a bit more of it.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor, is it an issue for somebody or?
Yes,
what-
it is. Yeah.
We can remove the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we
Remove-
put it up, we'll remove the sign.
What is this sign that's to be moved here, Mr Mayor? What is the sign?
Sorry.
The parking sign you want?
Yeah, there's a parking sign. It says you park, council parking sign. You park in the Lutheran Church.
Uniting Church.
No,
Yeah, United Church. I'll throw it.
You are getting rude.
Okay. Through you, Mayor, we'll make sure that.
Just follow that up. Councillor Arthur.
That's all. Thank you, sir.
The sun's going down. Councillor Bland, I haven't forgot you.
So very simple ones. 00619 in relation to highway bins. I know that was due for discussion today for the June meeting. gather the council's GIS nature of data lends itself to being presented to this report, but we haven't had a workshop really on the report. Just wondering if that data is happening at some point, to see what bins were nicely providing the highway.
So through you, Mayor, David will answer it in full. Was that the question from Councillor Lang originally?
Correct.
Yeah, so David has talked with Councillor Lang, but you can expand on that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, council staff have been out and identified all bin locations. They have been GPSed. The data that we have collected has been forwarded through to our GIS managers, who are updating our database to include those bins as a layer. So once we have that data and the system has been updated, we'll be able to physically see geographically as to where the bins are and the ownership they are, whether or not they're ours for entities.
Thank you.
So through you, Mayor, and I don't think it needs a workshop, Councillor Langdon. Let's
No, I just
sit down.
indicated, yeah, present it.
Your next one?
My second one is the one following that is 2719, and that is in relation to the Wadmore House. And we're currently up to about 0.23 and 4, which are obviously is underway to some degree. Just wondering how long before, subject to COVID-19, we might get to community engagement. Lots of discussion around that.
So through you, Mayor, with the focus on getting that project to a shovel-ready stage, because we'll need some grant funding available. We have been talking with a consultant to do some scoping work and to do some design of what's possible for that precinct before we went back to the community, because it's a very large block and we wanted a starting point to show community what would be possible in that respect. So I noticed an email from them this morning, so they'll be ready to go. I think the first thing we wanted to do was come to you as councillors to show you what was possible on the block, and then the next stage will be community involvement after that.
Okay, thank you.
Any further issues out of the minute action list? Being none, we'll move on, please. Thank you. To item 5, questions with notice. We have, says 4, Councillor Roundtree. Can you tell me if you're happy with the answer to the first one?
So in relation to the repairs and maintenance to the Canalton Hall, I'm happy with the answer to that question. Thank you.
Okay, we move to your second one.
Thank you. Sort of happy with the answer. Just wanting to know where the greening of Canalton is then fits, where that fits within the phase 2 funding. Is it still on the agenda, even though that other work wasn't done? Can it still be considered in phase 2?
Phase 2 of what?
The drought communities funding.
Well, phase 2 is already allocated. So,
Sure, but it said it was going to be concluded. It actually was on the list.
so
What happened to that?
perhaps if I could at this stage, there's a considerable amount of that things are in phase 2 and never even made phase 2 that were probably worthy, and we need to probably review that list in terms of shovel ready after a workshop in the near future around this subject. I have seen the report in relation to bringing, I would say, irrigatable water into Canalton. The approximate cost at the time was around $200,000. Council at the time decided to not pursue that any further. I don't think that stops this council reconsidering that information of the time or part of the next community plan. And it's a water issue, so it might be open to some federal water grants, for want of a better word.
So maybe the way forward, councillor, is that we included, when we have our workshop on shovel ready, we'll include the information of this one as well, and then councillors can have a look at it in terms of priorities. If we have to prioritise from 1 to 10 or whatever it is that we come up with, then there's a general agreement about where this one sits as well. So I'm assuming David, the director, has the information on that, and we'll be able to pull that out as well. So
Can that be minuted that we will discuss that at the
shovel ready workshop.
workshop? Thank you.
We have to your third question.
Yes, thank you. I suppose this fits in with what I had before about understanding the process for getting these projects shovel ready. So my question was more in relation to how do we make sure that there is a shovel ready project called the Canalton Caravan Park Precinct, and does that require me or council to set up a reference group in Canalton to talk with locals? Should they be putting together a plan of what they want to see, some sort of community thing going on? I'm just fearful that this actually is an easy one to slip off the agenda. I know the pool's being done, and that's a maintenance thing that will save council money in the future, but the rest of that whole precinct needs addressing, and as a whole needs to be looked at. And when we, I noticed in your report, CEO, that you've been to Lingy to talk about the skate park and to talk about Boydmore House, and they're also in the same shovel-ready status. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what do we need to do as Carnarvon people to move this forward? Because I'm a bit lost about the processing.
So in terms of process, councillor, first of all, we think we have an opportunity, or may have an opportunity, depending on those core samples from the pool that come back. So if they come back and we don't have to spend the extra money on the actual pool itself, then we think enough funds to do the perimeter of the, and what else needs to be done with the building. If that's not the case, and all the money will be soaked into destroying that pool, we will then do a bit like I just described with the Meningie one. We will do a scoping and some presentation to you at the Shovel Ready workshop. So that will include the surrounding buildings, the fences and so forth that we spoke about the other day. And that will then go in again to the list of priorities against everything else, because at the end of the day, we may come up with 10 priorities, and as a group you decide what the top 3 are that we put our energy into and think that they're the best grant ready ones, or the Carnarvon one takes care of itself because we've got enough money. So we don't need to engage the community like the skate park at this stage, because we have the potential to actually address the issue before.
Okay.
Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. At the moment, through Mr. Mayor, there is a community wellness grant of about $800,000 going around as well, and I know maybe there would be parts of that precinct project that could fit just that particular grant. So, and I think that one ends at the end of this month. Each July, is it? Okay, yeah. It would be useful to tap into some of that money as well.
You got a fourth question?
So I take on board what you said through Mr. Mayor with relation to what council can and can't do. I think we need to get a resolution one way or the other to this if we can, because whilst these structures sit there at the entrance and exit to that town, it's just screams poverty. It's bad for mental health. You're very pressed to see good things about Carnarvon, where at both ends you've got these derelict buildings. So if anything that council can do to speed up that process, even if it's getting them to build a wall around it so we don't see it, and we'll paint artwork on them or something, but it is ugly.
So, and Deb may add to this, but unless the building is unsafe or is a vermin, then generally we have very little control. If it's ugly, and we don't have control over that. If council wants to allocate budgets for us to do things outside of the building, which is public art or something like that, then that's a budget discussion around another piece of work. But in terms of forcing the owner to do something, if it doesn't have the category of derelict and falling down and unsafe, or it's a vermin issue across the board, it's very hard for us to force the landowner to do anything.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I think you were considering going to visit certainly the south side, which is the old all-nighter, which I think would probably fit the falling down category. The BP, Peregrine's End, probably doesn't. They are maintaining that, as ugly as it is, they are trimming the weeds and fencing and doing all those things. But certainly the Diamond side is something that should be tackled.
Through Mr. Mayor, we'll be able to send our building officer out.
Thank you. No more questions.
Now we've got one.
Now we've got one.
Thank you.
Cheers, thank you. Questions without notice, councillors? Councillor, excuse me, Taylor first.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, in reference to Moorlands Hall, is it council owned, and what is our plan to bring it up to a standard where it can be used, if it is council owned, in specific reference to the toilets and lack of septic?
Through you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
I will have to ask one of the directors because I don't know.
I don't think I'm just
I
gonna-
might have to take that on notice of the council.
No, it's ours.
It is ours, yeah.
It is ours. It's always been ours.
And secondly, is it feasible for council to investigate a Tail and Bend Rail Heritage Group, drawing on the expertise from surrounding council areas, e.g. Steam Ranger Heritage Railway, Historic Train Society with a view to making something of the turntable, specifically to create tourism opportunities, and in so doing, this would open such a group up to access to potential grant funding.
Perfect question, councillor, and perfect timing. David and I met with the train group on Friday, not anticipating your question, but we met with the group that owns the turntable and the roundhouse, because we'd had some discussions with state development and their interest in trains and the development of them, because they've had some third parties interested. The other thing that's been the driver is that the Adelaide Museum is bursting at the seams, and so they're looking at options at the roundhouse as well. So we've had an early discussion with them, and they are keen for us to organise a meeting with not only the museum in Adelaide, but also with the state departments, the relevant state departments around tourism and development, for us to see what might be possible and what's the interest in third parties in developing that. It's actually a commercially owned business, so from a grant perspective that makes it difficult, but if there are developers who are interested in doing that, we're more than happy to facilitate those discussions and see where we can get to.
Actually, point of clarification, if I may. Roundhouse is not correct, it is turntable. You would agree, Brenton, there's no roundhouse there.
Sorry.
That's all right, if you talk roundhouse, it's a totally different structure, and people listening may presume it's something else. So it's purely a turntable.
So through you, Councillor Mayor, the owners were quite happy when I used the term roundhouse. So whether
Yeah,
they
no, that's all right.
The Queensland are talking, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, all that's there is the turntable, the roundhouse is not.
Through you, Mayor, they just don't want to be called the graveyard.
I believe I'm on council land next.
A question through you, Mr. Mayor. During the consultation for structures in the current drought funding, the Niki Hall, currently CCI, toilets were looked at, and it was said at the time that while we weren't going to include it in there, we were going to give them facelift. I'm just wondering whether that really got onto the list or it was just the discussion at the time.
So through you, Mayor, it's not on the list from a budget perspective or on the drought second phase list. So we would have to go back and have a look at it as a separate budget item for consideration in the budget review time.
It was agreed that there was probably some work to be done there. And I'm just thinking it probably just slipped through by accident and probably needs to go into to have some consideration of what work really does need to be done there, given that it's maintained and rent paid for that building all the time. My other question, if I may, Mr. Mayor, is around the soft shovel-ready projects and following up on Councillor Roundtree thought processes about community consultation on that. How are you, as CEO, hoping that we will present any other than that has already been identified in the drought? Should they? Because some people have come up after and saying, well, I didn't know or wasn't aware. So how are we expecting to get that into the...
So at the shovel-ready workshop, there were a couple that you've already agreed on, as the Meningie Skate Park, the Murray Coorong trails, the various stages, and Canalpin. If we from that, I was also hoping that you would bring your own ideas as well on your discussions with the community, so that we can do some more work on them. So, and then there could also be agreement as a group about how you prioritise them, because if we came up, or if you came to me during that workshop with 2 each, that's still another, how many projects? Quite a few. So then I would like some prioritisation from you before we started to do some work, because at the end of the day, if we had a list of 5 or 6, that's probably all we would manage over a year. So we've already really got the skate park, the Coorong trails, which are in process and have been agreed to. And then really, we need your input as to what you think your residents want along the way, that we can then put some work into. Then you go back to the community with some community consultation about, is this what you were thinking about? Is this what you wanted? So that's how I was seeing the process.
A follow-up question there is, do you want to look at different categories? Because grants come in other different categories, whether it be community, wellness, and whether it be infrastructure. Are we potentially categories?
So some of the conversation would be around if a project, if we thought it had no prospect of ever getting a grant fund, then I would recommend that you either put it to the bottom of the list, or you said it was important enough as a group for you to come back and say, we need to vote for this at some time, whether it's 21, 22 or whenever. So from ratepayers revenue. So we would have a conversation about that. And one of the important parts is it a project that would attract grant funding? And we know that some of them never will, and some of them will be so hard, and some of them will be relatively easy.
So, if I may, I think that process will be assisted by Deb, who managed that process at the time. Perhaps just read the wish list for one of them, if we could, to elected members, so we're aware of what was actually considered. And I'm well aware the voting system meant things got dropped off, which some of us wished didn't.
Mr. Mayor, I might just make a comment on that. When those suggestions were up, I asked whether Lake Indwara to be put on there, and I was told it couldn't be added.
Yeah, that's the point I make, Councillor.
That is a fully costed. It has been fully costed. All the approvals, except just the ticket off from the EPA, has been done at the community's expense.
Yeah.
And it's ready to go.
That's the point I make, that some of the things got put aside for whatever reason that day, so we wise to go through what we've already discussed. And once again, we still do not know whether with this additional grant of money, what we can spend it on.
So through you, Mayor, I think that I'm not sure we'll get much more clarification except that it's basically roads and community infrastructure.
Yeah, so that's right. Sorry, I'm with Councillor, see you there, Councillor. Councillor Bland, you finished your list. Next one I had was, unless you've got something directly in relation to that little discussion, Councillor Anthony.
It was in relation to that.
Directly in relation to that list of projects.
Yes.
What was it?
Just, you mentioned through, that Bridget mentioned that we had already agreed on the skate park and the Coorong trails.
We'd agreed to put it forward as shovel.
Okay,
to
so I just
more
want a
specific
clarification on that, because I'm not sure we actually agreed that they were taking priority, just that we agreed to put them forward as shovel.
Put forward so the work has been done.
Okay.
So we've agreed on the funding since netball courts, and Councillor Arthur is correct. Lake Indwara was considered very early. It wasn't on the list. I think Councillor Quammen was next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was. Question. As we all see on the document page of the agenda and information there's meetings attended by the CEO. I'd just like to ask the question, our Director of Infrastructure and Assistant Director of Community Corporate, is there any opportunity that we should have them to put in a report in the meetings attended, and which governance would that take? Would it be under the CEO of Operations, or would it be Council Director?
The Chamber, so you may, if Chamber want that list, then we can provide that. I'm not too sure how far in terms of doing down we go, but.
Your busy list, Councillor.
And for what? Sorry,
What
and for what purpose?
I feel, if I may say, that it provides more information on what our directors are doing, because of what a greater net of information out to our constituents of what's going on with the council. Because great to see our CEO doing a lot of work, but let's see what everybody else is doing, especially in the infrastructure role, with my little baby, and also the corporate.
Probably leave that in the CEO's hands for some consideration, I think.
I will think of that.
Think of it.
So through you, Mayor, I suppose the thing is, Councillor, that's another layer of work for an office such as Ashley to put that together. Those things don't happen by accident. But we'll have a look.
I just thought about that.
No, that's what we're here for. You're happy with now?
Yeah, I'm happy with that.
I can't remember. I think it was you, Councillor Ling, but I ran out of. Wasn't. And who wasn't? Councillor Yanks. No. What's that for?
We need a spot.
Oh no, I just didn't have it right. Councillor Arthur, you want to have another go?
Yeah, I just want to ask a question. What council intends to do with the land that we bought at Meningie, which has been sitting there for some time now, to build a community centre on?
The land
there's
adjoining
dead
Wadmore
money
House.
sitting there. So would it be a good idea to get it put on the market and try and get rid of it?
So through you, Mayor, so when we finish with just scoping what that precinct looks like, and if it looks like there's no need to have that extra block of land because there's more than enough in the precinct itself, then I think that's a conversation that we will recommend to councillors that we have a look at.
Previously, what's the name of the block of land you're talking about? Has it got a,
It's
has it got a part, just an apartment?
2 blocks.
It's a block of land that is south of Whatmore House. Prior to falling over on Orion.
Okay, I thought it had a name.
We have purchased that at, I think, 50,000 to then be on, as Councillor Lang said, it is actually 2 blocks of land and we could divide the front off easily and sell the lot. We didn't need it for the other blocks. That once we found Whatmore House was available, it was potentially intent.
Councillor Taylor.
On the back of that, Mr. Mayor, can the CEO advise if there are any moves forward to investigate the sale of land which was included in the last development plan amendment? So council rezoned a substantial area of land in that DPA to presumably for subdivision and for sale. So I'd like to know what's happening, you know, what the intention is with that area.
So you may, I'd have to take that on notice, but I'll look at the director to see if they can add any.
To take it on notice, I'm afraid.
We're taking it on notice, councillor.
And to be frank, we haven't had a conversation around it either as a leadership team.
Okay, I think we're done with questions without notice. Moving to item 6, petitions, there are none. Item 7, petitions, we have nil. 7.1, public question time. Questions have been submitted in paper form. You want me to read them out, you answer them, how we do this? That's how the system can.
It was sort of like in David's announcement that we
Right.
will say it's up to you.
You two can go with your little,
Did you pay?
or whatever, this is questions lodged.
I Sandra Douglas, now remembering because we have limits on public participation, we ask residents to submit their questions by lunchtime Thursday. These were well within those guidelines. We thought Sandra might be here today. She registered, but doesn't appear so. So we'll read the questions and then we'll give you the answers. So can you please add another question to my list regarding the Tailem Bend pontoon? A, are paddle boats such as the Captain Proud able to safely dock at this pontoon? The answer to that is
Yes. Now, if I can also elaborate on that, I've just received an email from the engineering designers. The pontoon facility at Dixon Reserve was designed in accordance with AS 4997, Maritime Structure Designs, and AS 3962, Guidelines for Design of Marinas. The design loads are specified on the right-hand side of page 2 of the attached table. The design vessel size for the mooring poles were based on the Captain Proud tourist vessel, which will be using the facility. The vessel is 22.5 metres long and 110 tonne.
Has the council spoken to the owner of Captain Proud, who was initially interested in having lunch cruises coming downriver to Tailem Bend to bring people to Motorsport Park, for example?
Various meetings have been held by the council staff and the owners of Captain Proud. I've attended a couple of those meetings myself, one on site here and also one at their docking berth in Murray Bridge. The other thing is that Magrins have also confirmed that they met with the captain of Captain Proud down at Dixon Reserve as well.
The next question is quite a lengthy one. So, has any thought been given on how people from boats docking at the pontoon and also from the houseboat moorings will get up to the road? There are 77 to 80 steps to climb to get to the road. There is limited space for buses to drive around and turn around. Will parking be made available at the top for buses? Is there signage or a business map going in at the moorings and at the top of the stairs to let people know where to go, which directions for supplies? If Captain Proud wanted to dock and bring people to the Motorsport Park, how would they be transported from dock to park?
At this time, there is both pedestrian and vehicle access to Dixon Reserve facility. As part of the project, it was considered to install an interpretive sign down the bottom that will identify Tailem Bend, explaining how people can get back up into the CBD area. But no other work was scoped as part of the project.
And that's an important part, councillors. As part of the project was to actually build. There's no budget around the activation of it, which is what most of Ms Douglas's questions are alluding to. But at some point, I think it's probably important that we turn our mind to the activation of it in the ways that she suggested, because that will just add value to the precinct. Do you have figures on the Dixon Reserve project? Has the Dixon Reserve project come in within budget? If not, how much did it blow out by? I love her assumption that it's blown out.
And at this stage, the project is coming within budget. We are finalising works down there. I guess if any variation is posed, we'll work for it with the contractor in consideration of the budget. But at this point, there are no blowouts.
We have one small risk that's still to be decided, and that's with putting the poles into the river. Of course, it's always a little bit of an unknown when you're starting to put poles into the bottom of a riverbed, unless you do really extensive geotech types of testing, which you wouldn't do for a project of this size. So depending on the softness or the hardness of the riverbed, poles may have to be a bit longer than we anticipate if there's a level of softness that wasn't anticipated. But that's probably the only variation that's where it is with at the moment. On to me again.
That's to you.
I presume houseboats need a dump point for their boats. Will one be installed?
No, a waste, CWMS waste dump point was not considered as part of the project. It was discussed initially, but yeah, there was some consideration moving forward to install as part of the project.
So the existing ones on the river now. And very expensive to put down there. That's correct.
Will there be extra bins provided for rubbish from the houseboats? The current bins are quite often overflowing when visitors pull up to the reserve and having barbecues.
All I can say on that is, look, we'll certainly continue to monitor it, and if there is a need to install additional bins, we'll certainly install them.
So councillors, Ms Douglas had one more question which is not on the list, which was around CWMS. And you may remember a couple of meetings ago, I undertook to say that the report around CWMS would come into the info doc. We've started to work on that. We're just looking at the timing. With CWMS, we only have a schedule that sees work being done probably every 3 months. Probably at the shortest period. There are some towns across the district now that aren't due to have CWMS activity until 2021, 2022, because it's a 4-year cycle. So we will probably put that report into the info doc, but probably on a quarterly basis, because otherwise we won't be adding any value to the information you already know.
This relates to the pump out.
Correct.
Areas that are pumped out on a quarterly basis.
Yeah.
Yes, we could, let's go.
The last pump out that was undertaken was back in May this year. A total of 51 septic tanks were pumped out. The next scheduled pump out is to occur in Tintinara again, and that's scheduled to be undertaken in August this year.
Okay. No, can I just make a comment on that? When we give the information to the contractor, do we give them the information of the actual number of connections? Not the number who paid the CWMS? Because at Tintinara, when I was talking to the contractor down there, they said they have, I think, just off the top of my head, it was 162 to do. But there's only 98 actual pump outs, because that's all the septic tanks are there. You come to Taylor Bennett. So the figures that we have been given, we are giving them is the total number that could be connected to CWMS, not the actual number that are connected to the CWMS. Now, when we work out the charges, or we go to tender for that, which we did to juries, what figure are we using? 131 or the 90?
The question relates, Councillor, to the number of septic tanks we pump, not the number of connections we have. But you can imagine that we have some vacancy.
Well, I can assure, as I stand here, I was talking to the contractor and Kareem, and he had been trying to get onto her at Murray Bridge Council because that's who apparently was being given the information to. And that was what he had, and he said he didn't have the numbers. So that was what was given, say 131 and it was 98. You know, that's just off the figures on the top of my head.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Historically, in my past lives, we've given them the number of tanks to be pumped out. I would have to have a look to see what was tendered for this.
Yeah, that's right. It will make a difference.
Yeah, it certainly does, but the next tender request we put out, when that's due, and I'll have to look that up, we would certainly be requiring that it's the pump outs.
Yeah, well, this one's got another 18 months to go, I think. Isn't it?
Yeah, so we'll be starting that process reasonably soon, because it's a big tender.
No, it was very interesting.
That's all Commissioner. Okay.
While we're talking about the CWMS, the LGA sent a notice out some 6 months ago regarding new rules and regulations regarding CWMS. Have we had a look at them? Because part of the new rule and regulation is that you cannot, for example, the hospital is a 10 unit, gets charged for 10 units. You can adjust it, but only if the council pays for it. It cannot be adjusted off the CWMS scheme. It must be paid for by the council. The council must be paying their own CWMS connections. Now, I think I've got a copy in here of that ruling. It's a 5-page ruling, and it is very, and it actually tells you it's all the number of units is worked on the size of the tank.
Right. So the point is we need to follow that up because there is an ongoing support waiting around septic tanks and connections and multiple charges for certain circumstances. I think it's been pending for a while, I might say, Councillor.
I think it's one of those things where you fair dinkum, nitty-gritty sit down and have a good look at it. You know, I see WMS scheme.
Okay, we're in sort of public question time, so we've sort of lapsed a little bit. That was all. That was all in relation to all of that. Thank you. I move on to my report. Councillors, on yesterday, I did not attend, sorry, actually. The Zoom, I was de-zooming with a tractor that I could not steer. Any questions? Councillor Taylor.
Mr. Mayor, on the 25th of May 2020, you recorded a meeting at Malingi Town Oval on the proposed skate park with the Lakes Board councillors, the CEO and Director of Infrastructure. I would ask about why this wasn't included on our tour, because there are 9 councillors in this district, not just the Lakes Board councillors, and therefore it will come to us at some point for voting, and it would be very nice to actually see what it is that we're voting on.
Certainly, I think one of us made a motion that that's where the skate park could go. At one stage, we went past the dog park. We probably should have went up the street, the side street, West Terrace, whatever it is, and showed you the piece of land that would be proposed for this. It'd be fair to say that the community group, led by those 2 ladies, is fairly driven and keen, and we probably need to find the right format. And they're doing a bit of work, I understand, on proposed designs, see what's possible more financially than anything else. But we probably should have, I'm going to accept that. Any other questions there? Oh, Councillor Bland, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The tangerine again.
I'll change one that for you. This morning, yourself with our CEO met with the Nurringery Aboriginal Corporation.
Correct.
I'm just wondering how that meeting went and what are we anticipating into the future?
So finally, we got to meet. This is more about the structural arrangements since they had a representative body in native time. So a very positive meeting with three representatives. I think the first thing that may come out of it is there's 5 councils that form part of Nurringery Nation in this format, or this requirement. And that, there might be a presentation, at least to the leaders of that group as one, as to a common position on how we relate. That's what I asked Bridget to embellish this a bit.
So, in a sense, it was a preliminary meeting. One of it for my benefit because I hadn't met these gentlemen before, but also because they've changed their corporate structure. I think Councillor Lang called it NRC this morning, but that is no longer an organisation. It's now the NAC, and they're in the process, I suppose, of establishing relationships across the council, as the Mayor said, and this was that early meeting of meet and greet, basically. I think they're very keen to be involved with us. My understanding is we've had some sort of a understanding of MOU in the past, and I suspect at some point they will come and ask again to look at that. We also, I think, there's an opportunity at the executive level across councils and with mayors and councillors to meet with those 5 councils, maybe on a 6-monthly or 12-monthly basis to continue the relationship. They're putting in place a community engagement officer. So they're really keen to be involved with councils, as most Aboriginal organisations across Australia are, at that very early days of our big capital works, to make sure that we've taken into account the things that we should have in terms of Indigenous culture, and that we have a conversation. And from their perspective, the best way of doing that is that we have a strong relationship with each other before anything becomes too difficult in some of those conversations, and they always do become sometimes a little difficult because there's competing demands.
So one of the issues they raised about where a failure had happened was in the Poltalloch Road episode. Yeah. Councillor Lang.
So does this, does it indicate that the Narrandjeri Regional Authority, which is the previous body, are they now nothing?
My understanding is they're defunct.
Okay. So in regard to the acknowledgement at meetings which we're coming to, we should be approaching them then, not the NRA.
We did have a discussion around that subject. They were fairly both neutral in the way they foresaw that. I noticed that's coming up later in the agenda, but they would obviously like the opportunity to comment if we came up with a position.
That's exactly right. We asked also about, Councillor Ling, you sent the letter or email the other day saying that there are First Nation people around the district, and they acknowledged that that was the case. Narca people. So we had a conversation around that, and they didn't seem, as the Mayor said, be particularly adverse to how we structured the welcome or acknowledgement of country. But we did, and I would not do that without consulting the relevant bodies and the First Nations, whether it's the NRC or the NARCAC people, who my understanding is, and you all understand this much better than I, are much more southern. But it was just a general conversation, but we did undertake to say that there would be consultation, because it's not us deciding what we put in our welcome to country or acknowledgement of country, it's what the First Nations people want.
And it'd be fair to say in discussions around their families that the relatively fluid relationships between different parts of the Narrandjeri people and some other people over time, and they get the full rundown. That was very interesting. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Bland actually stole my thunder. That's the exact question I was going to ask him. I think the CEO was hiding that comprehensive report for information, because it's something that reflects up to the motion coming up later on.
So the point perhaps of the meeting was just an meet and greet, but a way moving forward to always consider their interests early in the discussion, so we don't end up having any great episodes, particularly in perhaps the major civil construction. But at the civil construction and the land management issue A, but at a cultural issue level B. One with the question, Councillor.
I'm happy with it.
Happy with that. Okay, anything else? Councillor Warman's report.
Mr. Mayor, if I just elaborate a little bit on the visit 21st to the Taliban Hospital with the Chief Executive Officer, Taliban. We went over there and had a quite interesting visit around the hospital, but the main topic was the issue of cleaning up the vegetation on the cliffways, and they wanted to know how we stood, and it's their land, actually belongs to Dick Dye. And but I was just wondering while we're here, through you, Mr. Chair, maybe the CEO can give us a bit more update on how we are at that place.
So, through you, Mayor, the Director of Infrastructure and Assets has been talking with DIPTI around that. We are looking at whether there can be some joint activity in terms of DIPTI cleaning the cliff face, and maybe we providing some of the equipment, but we're just working through them because the first thing I said to the Don over there was basically it's her responsibility to escalate up her channels to get that clean in the first instance, but we weren't adverse to where we could help in some way do that. The other thing that was important was that there's a pathway that goes at the bottom that's really quite not maintained at all. Again, talking with DIPTI, that if, once they come in and clean it up, then we'd be happy to just maintain that footpath, especially with the Dixon Reserve being built and the track leads to the pub, is my understanding. So having that pathway there would just add to the feature of the environment. But that's early days. And David, did you want an update there at all?
Through Mr. Mayor, the only thing I could update is probably the fact that I have met with the contractor down there. We are waiting on a proposal for what it would cost for them to recut the path, redefine the paths.
This is their part that we're doing.
No. Through you, Mayor, it's not, it's state government land. It's a path that, my understanding, we maintained in the past. So I suppose we were trying to meet them halfway in doing something because nothing is being done there now. It's probably an opportunity for us. They can do the initial heavy undergrowth stuff, and then it would take not much for us to mow it up and down if that's what it needs. So it's early days, and in our schedule, how much would it cost? So we haven't explored what the cost would be. It might be prohibitive, but it also might be something that we just add the mowing stretch up that pathway and back again once they've done that preliminary heavy work.
Councillor Yench.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The council leased from the hospital probably 25 years ago. Whether that lease is still valid or in place, it was a metre down from the cliff top, and council received significant grants in the day to clear the vegetation, the non-native vegetation, mainly oleander. The council then took on the role of maintaining down the waterfront, which is why you have Goodman Reserve at one end. You're right about the access to the Riverside pub. The water tower do not have river frontage. They have a narrow easement on one end, but we need to be very cautious in regard to moving any material around the cliff face due to the fact that down at the other end, where council has its reserve, there's that small turning area. There is a section on the cliff face there that is regarded as significant from an Narrabri point of view, and we want to ensure that we do not disturb any form of movement elsewhere along the cliff face, and they are there, we found.
Good point, Councillor.
Thank you. Anything else, Councillor Corn?
No, thank you.
Notice the motion, Councillor Taylor, number 9.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there's not too much to add to the motion in place, except that to include all religions would make the actual prayer itself probably unwieldy and excessive. It is also my belief the council must maintain neutrality towards religion, and therefore it's about time to take it out. Some statistics on the religions in the Coorong district. The Christian total in the 2016 census showed 52%. Those who recorded no religion was 35%. So that does not, so that's the Christian total, not including the other religions. So just referencing the Christian total of 52% against no religion, 35% in 2016. And for South Australia itself, the Christian total was 52% and no religion 35.3%. It shows a downward trend. So for the Coorong district itself, between 2011 and 2016, showed a reduction of 402 in Christian religions and an increase of 400 on those who recorded no religion. There's also another category on the census form where it's not stated. So there's a distinct difference between those who recorded no religion and those who just didn't bother to tick a box at all. So those who didn't bother to tick a box at all was represented by 105. And therefore, it's time to remove it to maintain the council's neutrality. We are a diverse district, and we can expect that there are a number of religions, and therefore the reference to, I don't want to read the actual prayer out, but we're just referencing one aspect of religion. So either we need to reference all of them, or remove it and maintain our neutrality regarding religion. Thank you.
We're moving that way, Councillor. I've got a second. Councillor Roundtree, you wish to speak?
No, not yet, thank you.
Council is open for debate. Councillor Ling.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it should be pointed out that God is not Christian based. God is.
Let's win the election, we just want.
No,
Yes, I will.
your councillor, he's got the right to speak, and I'm interested in this debate.
God is a recognition of a single deity, which all, or majority of religions recognise, including Aboriginal. So I myself wondered about this when I actually joined council, and I don't find a problem with it because it is not Christian based, but it recognises all religions and gives respect to all religions.
Councillor Yench.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with Councillor Ling. I do not believe that the current prayer is offensive or inappropriate. I think it's quite appropriate. It came in at the beginning of Coorong Council. It was something early on, and I believe it's a reaffirmation at each council meeting that we're going to do our best. God is a very broad interpretation. It does cover many religions and many alternate beliefs. And as the councillor has said, it's approximately 75% of people, one form or another, believe in some form of deity. I think it is highly offensive to remove it. It is disrespectful, and it is, yes, an affirmation at the beginning of each meeting that we are going to attempt to treat each other with respect and dignity.
Thank you. I'll note that the report says that it could be referred for part of a broader discussion around this part of our meetings. Councillor Wall, or councillors, are you pointing somewhere, Councillor?
Well, Councillor Hill was before me.
Right, well, I'll go with Councillor Hill. Sorry, Councillor, and then I'll go Hill, Wallman, and then Roundtree, I believe.
Thank you, Councillor.
Still a councillor.
Despite my parents' best efforts of sending me to Sunday school, I stopped short of my confirmation, and I'm actually an atheist. I have no problem with having the prayer read out prior to any council meetings, because I understand that this area is a quite conservative council area, and with many people I know that attend church or a variety of other religious institutions. I agree with Councillor Yench that it is just basically an affirmation that we will do our best for whatever deity or non-deity that we worship or acknowledge. So I don't have a problem with the prayer. I've been prayed for, prayed over, prayed all sorts of things, but yeah, I don't have a problem with it, and I'll go with whatever the majority says.
You might form the majority with the question, Councillor. Councillor Coleman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I concur with Councillor Lag and Councillor Yench, and especially on it says Almighty God, and Almighty God doesn't mean it's the God of Christianity, it could be the God of any religion. And we are a very diverse country, and we're a very diverse country with our religions. And I find it also a great affirmation to start a meeting off, to give us a bit of kickstart, so I have no trouble with it, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Roundtree?
So in other religions, thank you, Chair. So in other religions, we have Jehovah, we have Allah, we have Krishna, and many other things that people pray to. We're already referring to God, which is typically Christian. So we already have an issue there in that there are people who don't call their gods gods, they call them, we thank Allah, Allah. So it is typically Christian. I am also an atheist, like Councillor Hill. We also acknowledge in our citizenship ceremonies when we allow people to not swear on the Bible, and we accommodate it there because we understand that it is diverse and it is, people have their own preference. So we're recognising it there, but we're not recognising it in our speech. So I think we should be inclusive of all religions, or come up with some other words that still say what we want to say, but don't nominate one religion's God, and maybe there's some better words that we could use, because there are a lot of Muslims who don't pray to a God, they pray to Allah. So, you know, we need to be respectful of that. We do already do that in our citizenship ceremonies. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Look, I would agree with quite a number of the statements that we made here today, and also with our CEO, who has indicated this could be combined with perhaps looking at our Nigerian comments as well at the beginning of introductions. And we are very diverse, and people do have different points of view on this issue. I would like to see a little bit of research on what other affirmations exist around this issue that is more inclusive, and maybe ones that will satisfy a bit more protection.
So you will be moving an amendment, Councillor. If you don't,
Sure.
there'll be two. So I'm down to one councillor myself that hasn't spoke. If the motion is voted down, that just means it still could be considered in a review of these parts along with the next item, I believe. It just meant that today we did not make a decision. Is that a fair comment? And so a new motion could be put. If this motion was to fail, or it was to succeed, interestingly enough, it would be considered, you know, review of this being. I know we have discussed some other things that we could put at the front of the meeting, along with what we did today, with the acknowledgement of an OAM. We could have things around people in this district that have achieved something or have passed away. We've struggled with that little piece already a couple of times in terms of the formal meeting procedure. I'm going to speak. I will be voting against this motion. I think at this stage, I still more than happy to read the prayer, but I acknowledge what the councillors are saying about it being somewhat prescriptive to a God. And that's why I would like to see some work done on what other wording could do a similar job better for all. But right at this moment, the only way I see I can vote today is to keep the civic prayer alive for a couple more months at least, is to vote against this. Any other councillors? I've only got one left to can, so you've got it easy. Okay, Councillor Taylor, you will close debate.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make a correction to Councillor Young. She said that 75% were in fact religious. The numbers are 35% ticked no religion and 9% not stated. That's 45%.
Be good for the budget session later, this arithmetic, Councillor, won't it?
So 45%, obviously, it's not 75% who stated they are religious.
No, we'll sharpen up on our mathematics.
Thank you. And I will close debate.
Thank you, Councillor. So, Councillor Taylor's moved, Councillor Ramsey seconded that motion as it read. Those in favour? Those against? So the motion is lost with the councillors Taylor, Roundtree and Arthur voting for the motion, and the other 6 plus voting against it. The motion is lost. For today, anyway. Thank you, councillors. Next one is same one, councillor Taylor, in relation to Indigenous.
Mr. Mayor, are you accepting an alternative motion so that we may move forward on this by looking at an affirmation, a different affirmation we considered? We've got one.
Is the one that you've got ready, one that we prepared earlier on before it is that also deal with the next item on the agenda of Indigenous acknowledgement, or is it separate?
So, through you, Mr. Mayor,
Mm-hmm.
I guess it depends on whether you want to deal with those two things at the same time. There was a recommendation within the council agenda that dealt with Indigenous acknowledgement.
Change Indigenous acknowledgement to civic prayer.
That is right now.
Yeah, the top 2 take out.
Or could we put?
Can you make that one, please, Ashley?
Sorry.
So basically, you're asking us to look at the acknowledgement, point 1.2 in relation to investigating civic threat.
Well, I don't want to precede a debate on number 2, but I'd be aware that both of them are similar. Therefore,
Let's just do
they're not similar at all.
No.
Okay.
So just to explain where it says Indigenous acknowledgement will change to civic prayer. We'll come back with a report.
I'm happy to move that, changing those words to civic threat.
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to second.
Councillor Bland moves and councillor Roundtree seconds. Sorry. What is in front of us on the screen, so I'll read that out for the purpose of the public. The staff conducted an investigation into the possibility of updating and improving or improving the current civic prayer within the council's code of conduct proceedings of council and committee meetings. Another report be presented to council within 2 months. Go to practice, thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can the word possibility come out and just make it into the updating of, not possibility of, because it should be possible.
Yeah. And through you, Mayor, could it be that improving or updating to be more inclusive maybe is what we're aiming for?
Yeah, just,
So it's going to be just to vary the fraction, looking at some mover.
I'm happy with that. Inclusive.
yes.
I'm also happy for that to be extended out for a couple of months, given that we're, for even 3 months, 3 to 4 months, given the amount of work council staff have on board with review of policy, etc.
Will the mover? 3 months. Meet you halfway. Anyone wish to speak for or against that? Councillor Roundtree, the seconder. I assume they're both in agreement now. 1, 2, councillor Jens wishes to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I am against the motion. I believe that what we have currently is very open, very fair. It is not overly specific and an interpretation of what God or a deity is. You're going to be struggling to find a word or words to cover that. But it's not just that, it's also the rest of the wording within, which is an affirmation of us doing our best. So I believe we should put this to bed and leave it where it is. We have other things to do.
Councillor Roundtree, you're the second. So I hope you got a question.
I have a question for
Yeah.
councillor Inch.
Well, you've got to ask me, didn't
No,
I?
through you, Mr. Mayor. Would he be happy if it said Almighty Allah? Because I mean, what's the difference?
I don't know.
It's like,
It's not for me to ask.
Well, I'm happy to answer that, Mr. Mayor. I believe that it's silly. and quite frankly, offensive. We have something that works, it has worked for well over 20 years. Nobody has complained. People have been very happy with it. Well, we can assess everything for change, but change's sake is not effective.
Okay, councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with the new motion, and I think that there's nothing wrong with an affirmation at the start of a council meeting at all. And I'm afraid if it is broke, there's no need to fix it. Argument just doesn't work in this instance. Time's moved on, and we need to be representative of our entire community. And therefore, it just needs some tweaking in order to be a representation of our commitment to our entire community.
Thank you. Anyone else? Chancellor Bland.
I think enough has been said. I think the review to bring it up to current practice, and we have it for 3 months.
Very good. I'll put the motion as it reads. Move Councillor Bland, second Councillor Roundtree. Those in favour? Those against? All councillors except Councillor Yens voted for the motion. 9.1.2, Councillor Taylor, Indigenous Acknowledgement to Country. You're moving that way?
I have a question first, Mayor.
Yes.
Given all of the information that sits underneath this, I'm not sure what we're doing. So I'm not sure whether it's a motion or what it is, because there's a lot of things underneath. So if someone can explain first, are we doing a motion or what?
You're the mover. So that's how this works. But if you wish to have a Bracey and see how it's a Bracey or someone around this process, I'm more than happy.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It was just where I've put recommendation, it's just a suggestion for a new recommendation rather than making the decision here and now and today without any real wording there. So it's a proposal to that an investigation be conducted, some consultation with First People, etc. And then we come back with a report with some recommendations for the improvement or implementation of another acknowledgement based on the investigations.
I'm still not, but I mean, the motion in itself is quite short, which is acknowledgement the country be inserted into all council meetings and agendas where a formal introduction is given. At the moment, the one that exists at the front of the start of this meeting, for example, is really short and nondescript and doesn't really say very much by way of acknowledgement to anybody. And I just think it needs to be beefed up to be reflective of the environment of our district and the Indigenous peoples within it. So is that a motion or?
Well, I think if you were to move your motion and add the recommendation, I think you get the result. And perhaps you'd like to give it the 3 months instead of, you give it the 3 months instead of the 2, if I could recommend it be somewhat the sync of the last one. I'm looking at the governance and the CEO, and that would achieve that. So you're moving that way out of this. Is there a second?
Awesome.
Thank you, Councillor Hill. Was this a speak, Councillor?
No, I think it's self-explanatory.
Yeah, very good.
Got a question, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm just wondering whether we might also extend the time frame out. I am very mindful that the first quarter of the financial year is extremely busy, and by the time you consult with the appropriate groups, our Aboriginal peoples, then it may take some time.
So we might step over the 3 month line. You're dead right, Councillor, but I'd be interested to know when you tell me there's a quarter that's not busy.
Well, in reality, it'll take some time to do it, and
certainly
pressure on the staff.
Sorry, Councillor Hill's next, but Deb, please.
Yeah, sorry, just to through you, Mr. Mayor, as much as I would love to extend this out, I think it would be streamlined if we address both matters at once because it's all through the procedure of meetings. I would love to extend it out.
excuse me if I'm wrong, all this is putting it into the committees now, as well as the,
It's
so
the
all,
motion.
all agendas and all committees have the acknowledgement.
We'll come back to council for a decision.
So so there's really two bits to this. One is that do we use a welcome or acknowledgement to country in all of our meetings? And that's the first comment from Councillor Taylor, suggestion. And the second one is that the wording that we have currently is relatively short in the scheme of things. Can we do better in terms of the wording?
Well, I don't think, it doesn't say anything about changing the wording in what she's got there. And, you know,
It does.
It has.
If you had recommendation on the following page, which is what the motion now is.
it was up until recently, or, you know, like there's a few councils trying to change it. Because, you know, like it's felt it's only tokenism. And to me, what we do now is fine. You know? And you cannot just acknowledge the Narrabri, because we have got others. It's the mob that backs down into the bottom down by Messers. There's another tribe that got to work for them.
So you would like, and I'm now looking at the mover and seconder, do you change the words in the number one recommendation to local Indigenous leaders to get around that problem, and perhaps you'd also like, and I'm just trying to work this out, Councillor Hill was the seconder on those, that you would like, perhaps in the first part, which was the original notice of motion, that the words all council meetings be left a bit open at this stage for the future discussion. Is that what you'd like?
Yeah, that's
Right,
right.
well, I'm
That's
looking-
what I thought.
I'll go back to the councillors Taylor and Hill as the mover and seconder. It's not as directive or prescriptive, councillors. One's more inclusive and one is at this stage not including all council meetings. But it will come back to council in 3 months for a discussion.
Okay, so when I put this in, this was for all council meetings. So perhaps I should have said
Or ordinary council.
ordinary council meetings.
I love the way this one's the ordinary one.
But then I would also see if we've got a chair in place and there's a formal agenda, or let's say the audit committee or for the finance committee, then it should be included as well.
I think we do that now. No. I went to a meeting only last Friday, I did it. Councillor Hill, you're tuning over in your head there, so.
Just in relation to consulting with all the local Indigenous groups, it would probably drag the time out to more than 3 months. However, it just says a report will be presented to council within 3 months. It doesn't mean you might end up with an agreement by all parties. So it's just, it was just a report. But I do agree that we do need to give acknowledgement at all formal council meetings, and I know at other functions and that we usually end up with a welcome to country as well. So that doesn't need to be dealt with. Yeah.
So I'm going to try and refine this, and I'm looking to move in a second to perhaps by the removal of the word all in your original thing, that will give us some flexibility in deciding at this stage, won't be prescriptive. Are you happy to remove the word all in your original?
Okay, I've been twitchy about it, but all right. Because I do think we need to give formal respect.
I know, well, it can be added later, but I think some people are having trouble with being prescriptive. Now, Councillor Hill, how are you going?
Oh,
Remove the word all?
as long as it's part of a report and
Yeah.
not a final position on it.
And that's the only, what I've picked up so far, and we want to change the word Najaneri to local Indigenous or First Nations people.
Traditional owners.
Traditional
And
owners.
3 months.
But that's what it says, it doesn't say no.
Only traditional owners.
Traditional.
Traditional
We'll come,
Yeah, but it-
we'll come back to those words in a minute.
Their motion was second by three.
Oh.
Traditional owners.
So two people.
Yeah.
We will come back after we've consulted with the First Nations people who have an interest in this. We'll come back with some suggested words. Now, those words may include Narrabri people, or it may not, but we'll take advice from them. It's not our place to say what they want in their
The councillors, Councillor Yench and then Lang, I believe.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I have no problems in the first part, and I think it's it's two motions. The first one being that we do the acknowledgement at all meetings, I concur with that. But I believe to make it absolutely clear, and Councillor Arthur was confused, as other people may be, it needs to be in two motions. 1 and 2 are a separate motion to the first 2 lines.
I don't know that he was confused.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
I think he can just tell us if he's confused.
Yeah,
You're not telling him he's confused.
like some felt that it was purely just based on the inclusion and not the change. If we're going to reassess what is being said, that is a separate motion, but the inclusion at all meetings is a separate motion. And it's clear cut, it's easy to understand if we split this into 2.
Well, the mover and seconder.
I'm happy with it as it is.
As it is, well, they've made a slight change in this, where it is councillor, sorry, it should be a councillor 2, actually.
And the 3 months, change the 2 to 3 months.
That was the 3 months, sorry, councillor Ling.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm just offering, if you wish to make contact with the other First Nation groups, or traditional owners, Man Camp and Watch and Narcat, I may be able to assist you with those contacts.
Very kind. I'm at the point. Now everyone else has had a go. I think I'll look at the mover. You're going to close the vote.
I'll close the vote.
Thank you. Councillors, are we aware, it's on the screen, there's been some minor amendments to that. Is everyone clear on what they're voting on? Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against, that means it's carried unanimously, please. Thank you. Motions without notice. Twice. Just in case. We have none. Thank you. Number 10, Office of the Chief Executive Officer. Report. Number 1, please. Now someone wish to move that way. Councillor Bland.
I have a question.
Yes.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to our CEO, in relation to this program, given that it is a program also through this council, have we received any stats for this program in the last 12 months? And do we know that by postcode in our own?
So yes, we do get reports, and we've asked the CEO of the Taliban Community Centre to provide a final report for the year, and that will go into the July council meeting. The other postcodes, I'm going to say yes, because she's provided other data when the COVID-19 was on around postcode data. So I would assume she has it, but I'll take that one on notice.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I request that we actually receive that by postcode, from particularly the Home and Community Care Support Program, and also I'd be interested in anything that have managed to achieve through COVID. That would be great. Thank you very much.
You better move that way.
And I am prepared.
You're very kind. I've already put your name on it. Councillor Roundtree, the next hand I saw. You second. Thank you. To speak. Anyone else? Councillor Taylor's next. Councillor Ling.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, is this different to the transport scheme? Is something completely different?
Yes.
The answer is yes, it's completely different.
There's I don't know whether it was cleared up regarding the transport scheme, but they have 2 of our cars. Did we hand them over completely?
I think we handed them over, Councillor, or handed one of them over. There was some agreement on the
Can we
time.
please check that?
They were both handed over.
Can we please check that?
So we can check on that. Advice, I think, just check where those cards ended up. But I think that was. Councillor Ling, do you just want to second it or you?
No.
Yeah, all right. Any other debate around this subject? This item?
When is it you anticipate that the federal state funding property partners will get us out of this arrangement?
So through you, Mayor, we have started that conversation when I got here. I had a conversation with the CEO there. So I've written a letter requesting that. The state have come on board. The Commonwealth moves, as you might know, a little more slowly, so that conversation is still happening. The state are quite happy to move any funding that comes to us, and this is not one of them, from the 1st of July. And then I'm expected to hear sometime about the Commonwealth, but we haven't heard yet. But we will continue to keep pushing and asking for that, because as we do it now, it doesn't make a lot of sense for us to be the intermediary. It probably made sense at the time, but it doesn't now, because they're quite an established group and have the confidence of government and have got many, many other contracts and grants, not just this one.
Any other councillors want to speak?
Closed.
Thank you. I put the motion as it reads. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Item number 2, adoption of the annual business plan. Do councillors wish some time to discuss this freely? The answer is yes, please. Okay. We have 20 minutes discussion. Short-term suspension, please, Ashley. Someone move that way, please. Councillors Hill and Roundtree.
Can't, what is a live stream?
Why?
Pretty good.
Does that matter if we're still in an informal council meeting? Doesn't really matter.
We can stop it and start it again.
No, I don't see a point to stopping this live stream. This is still a part of the formal meeting. So if council vote for it, any discussion around moving to 20 minutes of suspension standing to discuss annual business plan? There's none. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. 20 minutes from 3:38. Rex is on the screen. Is there a reason why he just likes being there? And the monetary comments, right? That's where you're there, Rex. Very kind of you. Okay. Can someone give us some background on where we're at, please?
So the annual business plan, as you know, came in draft form to council 2 meetings ago, I think. Coming out to consultation in the community. We had 3 submissions. They're noted in your documentation. Basically, those 3 submissions were, one was to ask about a fireproofing Wellington East in some way. The second one was around the town vent toilets, and the third one was to commend us on the work that we do as council. So there was nothing new or probing in the 3 submissions that we received. The annual business plan has also been to the Audit and Risk Committee, who have endorsed the plan and recommended that be accepted. And there's nothing else new to tell you about the plan. There'd been no amendments apart from a couple of tidy ups as we came across issues. And there will be one more that I'll mention when I get to item number 7. But other than that, there's been no other changes.
Councillor Quallen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just talking about an anomaly here. I brought this up 2 months ago. The map on I think page 42, wherever it is, 42, says 321 kilometres of Seal Road. Well, that's incorrect. And I raised this 2 months ago. It's actually 395.7, and that was paying off the council website.
So we will check that, councillor, and make sure it's the right amount. What page are you on, sorry?
42. That's online.
Yeah. What's your page like, councillor?
42 on my
I think it's.
It's a map. It's after.
This one. But councillor, I think we've lifted that off the last business plan.
Not anomaly. We're going to go to Councillor Roundtree next.
So I've got just a couple of things. So when on page 22 of the plan, the wording that starts under council was clean to ensure. So is it I get the impression from reading that the council believes a nil increase in rate revenue is going to impact on their ability to provide services. And that's due to the line that reads councillors faced with the following challenges when trying to meet the objectives listed above. So I'm getting the sense that there is a fair bit of concern perhaps amongst staff that going forward we're not going to be able to do the things that we want to be able to do. That's what I take from reading that line. And I think that we probably need to, maybe we need to revisit the whole thing. If we know, that's what is being implied through those words, then we have to really look at this again, don't we?
But do you know, those words are intended to capture the fact that your discussion focused on you wanted a business plan and budget that was COVID friendly, that we didn't really understand the impacts of what COVID would do to our community, and so that there was an appetite across councillors to limit any impost on the community through any rate rises or through any increase in fees and charges. What the downside of that is that if, with that decision, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but with that decision, it was also then discussed that the long-term financial plan ratios started to dip again, and that we are not within what's accepted range of good sustainability from a financial perspective. And that's why the long-term financial plan, which we'll bring back to council in July, showed that we need to start to think about that in the following years, 21, 22, 23, 24, for us to move those ratios to a more acceptable limit, so that we have enough money in the bank, so to speak, to do the things that we need to do, and to be within those acceptable accounting standards. And so the long-term financial plan, if we're in the same position as we are now next year and not having not even CPI to anything, we would continue to go backwards in terms of financial sustainability. There has to be a point where there is a discussion around CPI is probably your minimum in terms of what you're looking at to go forward, otherwise you're going backwards, because things do go up all the time. Now, I'm not saying that we don't find efficiencies in what we do, but there is an expectation that unless we do start to increase along with CPI, which is the standard, then things will continue to deteriorate, and basically you're passing the cost of any improvements in the district into the next generation, or at least a couple of years down the track.
So following on from that, then I think that the fact that you guys have been able to find a lot more cost savings and you've done the work that you've done, there is more of an appetite. I think the need is there to put the rates up, and we've done what we can, and we've stripped out all the things that aren't necessary. The argument's there, and it's supported. I think a lot of the not wanting to put the rates up came from the time when we weren't sure that work had been done satisfactorily, and just putting rates up for the sake of putting rates up was never going to be palatable to anyone. And I think when now we can demonstrate that we have found these cost savings, and yet to maintain the services that ratepayers want, we need to do this. I think that is a different story, and I think it's a more acceptable story going forward. And I noticed when you're talking about the spending out of $100, that $26 of that 100 is on good governance, and this is, and 51 was on economic development, planning and road infrastructure, and 23 on the community. And is that, and this might be a question for Rex, but are those $26, $51 and $23 type arrangements out of $100, is that consistent with other councils? Do we know that what we spend and where we spend it is in line with what all the other ones do?
So we haven't done that comparison, and my comment around that would be that every council is different. Every community is different in their expectations. This is very much council at this point in time that focuses on the services that that community expects, which is around your roads, rates and rubbish. Yeah, their rates don't want to pay them, but they're the three things generally. And it's about when we go to the community, I think through the community strategic plan, and we start to look at that 5-year vision to see whether that type of arrangement fits with what the community is also expecting. So I think that question, Councillor, was probably a little premature. We could do some comparisons against other councils to see if it looks, the percentages and the relativities look the same. But I think it's more of a question probably for 12 months' time, once we understand what the community comes back and says around the community plan. And if they say, all we want from council is to manage the rubbish and build our roads, and if that's all, then we can say, well, that's where we are at the moment. If they come back and say, we would like a little bit more around maybe the resilience of the community or the fabric of the community, how do you want to do that? Then we would then come back to you and say, well, maybe those relatively aren't right.
We know whether those amounts are consistent with other years in council, if we tracking, don't know. But on my last point I wanted to make was we're still using the word strategic plan, we're calling it a community strategic plan. Can we drop the word strategic out of that sentence? For instance, can we say community plan, community purpose plan, community operational plan, vision plan, or community master plan? The word strategic still, I think, will just make people's eyes glaze over.
So we can just, I think we have a obligation to have a strategic plan, whether it's got to be in the name or not, I'll take advice. Doesn't have to, we can happily call it the community plan, or I wouldn't put operational in there, because that confuses the,
Master
I
plan,
actually like the wording vision.
vision plan, yeah, community vision plan. I think that would be great wording.
They're writing it down.
I'm happy to call it whatever you think will suit your community and will resonate with them.
We just want them to own it, and I think taking the word strategic out will help, and vision fits. And that's my question, so far.
You done? Do I have someone over here as well? Now, I know councillor Taylor, but I just don't know if councillor Brown was ahead of it.
No, Councillor
All right, okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to commend the staff for putting this document together. I think it's easy to read, it's straightforward, and it reflects really what the council has been pushing for it seems like forever. And it comes out in, whilst it might create, it's not a financial, break-even position. As explained to us by Rex in his wonderful spreadsheets that we had to muse over, we are still in an unknown. So we are not out of the COVID situation. We do not know how it's going to affect individual ratepayers and businesses. And therefore, I think we're in the best position for this business, this annual business plan than we possibly could have been, had things been worse. But I think it's a fantastic reflection of the work done by the staff and the incredible help given to us by Rex on this. And we've also seen, although it's not public, we've had that conversation with Rex going forward on the long-term financial plan, where he's given us guidance for how we might come back into the black moving forward. What is of concern to me is we've had an extraordinary amount of money thrown at us this year, which has improved our position for roads and for footpaths and for other facilities which we've been able to create. But that also has that's got an ongoing long-term problem, if you like, or issue, in that we now have to absorb that into how we maintain all of that and keep that going in years to come. So all of that, whilst it's fantastic to have that, it also adds to our, the work that we've got to do and the services, our increased now services we've got to maintain year on year, and it's trying to find a balance between what we do and not screwing the ratepayers in order to pay for it in the future. So that's my only concern. My only concern is that it's wonderful to have all of this cash, but when we're looking at new infrastructure and new items, they've got ongoing costs into the future. So I'm sure that Rex is already well across all of that. So I look forward to future discussions with Rex on our long-term financial plan. But I do just want to reiterate that it's been an extraordinarily hard year for the staff and during this transition period. And again, I'd like to publicly thank David for all of his hard work, because he bore the brunt of it, certainly at the start. And then I'd like to publicly thank Deb and Bridget and the team that sits behind this, the finance team especially, for bringing this to the ratepayers with a much reduced impact than I feel it would have been a year ago. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bland.
Just something very simple, just on the community service, page 11. I'm just, like to maybe put some sort of writer on that saying that this is not necessarily exhaustive. And I say that simply, and a quick example would be, on the community facilities we've got in our own camping ground and jetty, don't mention toilets. I know that's been a bugbear. However, in the community services, we put in a list of toilets that we maintain. And we actually do maintain the ones at Narung as well, even though they are sitting in the camping ground. So they're either exhaustive or we're not. So we could just put that this is not necessarily, that's a minor example.
There's a few mistakes.
So we have to make a statement on
I tied it up a bit. The CEO pleaded she wasn't late.
And I think I would just put a rider on it, to say it's not exhaustive.
We started off with a very short list, and I thought, well, we do more than that, so we started that, and there's always a risk that
Yeah.
I thought we'd put toilets in, to be honest, because.
Well, you have got toilets in community services.
Yes.
But if we want to get preventive, you could say, well, you should have to include their own.
I'm sure.
However, if he's sitting in community facilities, if you know what the facility out of the run consists of, but maybe it should just say not necessarily exhaustive list because it's too hard.
It is too hard, but we can definitely add in their own toilets.
Okay. Any other councillor wish to speak? Councillor Jens, and sorry, Rex. Sorry for Councillor Rex. Do you want to speak to this at some point, or you just?
Sorry, I've been invited here just to field questions on an as needs basis.
We'll leave you with that for a minute then.
Yeah, and in particular, I think when the budget comes along, there'll probably be a few things referred my way.
No worries. Councillor Jens then, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I think the staff have been commended, have done a remarkable job under extremely difficult circumstances. I do have concerns that whilst we are not necessarily putting the rate up this year, we have been exceedingly fortunate with grants. That may or may not continue in the following 21-22 year. Historically, the council back 20 odd years ago, and Mr. Mayor, I think you may have been in then, we did a similar thing. We held the rates still, and as a consequence, it does have implication into the ongoing further future viability of council. So whilst we have taken what is a difficult option, but an easy option, there are going to be some hard asks within the next few years, particularly on our viability.
Difficult and easy, Councillor. Thank you. Councillor Roundtree.
Just a question.
We've got not many minutes left.
Sure. On commercial, so this was page 61 of 220 or page 28 of the report. Just the commercial valuation change dropping by 19.12%. Has that impacted on anyone else? Has that impacted on primary production land values? I mean, that's a fairly significant drop in the valuation change. So what sort of effect has that had?
So we will be giving you another set of figures there because we have by legislation, it won't look any better, Councillor, but by legislation we have to take the last set of valuations, and the last set of valuations before we set the budget came out on Saturday. So some of these will now change before that, but all of the valuations, it will just be part of the evening up process when we start to set the rates in the dollar, basically.
So what does that mean? What will that look like during this year? So does that look like others pay more and some pay less? I mean,
Always that happens, Councillor.
but is it looking like, for instance, is it looking like primary industry will pay more?
You'll get to decide that a little bit later in the meeting, I believe.
Right, okay.
And valuations across the board generally have gone up.
Even the one that says it's minus 19.
Yes.
That's because it reduced the rate in the dollar. That's what we're paying.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor Art.
I've got a few comments. I started
You've got
off
about 4
doing
minutes,
valuation on this, and I cannot for the love of me find where the $34 million for Motorsports Park is included. Now, this is the first time that has been included for budgetary purposes for rates.
So where do you
Now, sorry?
So, where do you expect to see it?
Well, whatever it's classified in is commercial, industrial, other special. There is no increase. The biggest increase in any valuation, as far as is concerned, here is the rural, which is $174 million increase.
So that's what you mean. The valuations, the Motorsport Park would have been in there for the last couple of years and we would not have noticed it because the the valuer general doesn't know what we do with it, so it would be there. And when we get the valuations, because we're giving a rebate, that's where you'll see the impact, but not in the valuations themselves, because it would have always been there.
Well, can I ask this question then?
I mean-
Last year, it's been told it's gone into commercial. Right? Last year was $73 million was the valuation of commercial. We go through, we charge it out at 0.00422 cents in the dollar, and we get a rate revenue for 1920 of $311,426. These are the figures that are carried forward. These are the figures that go into the budget. Now, I've done a spreadsheet here, and Rex may be able to help me here, but I cannot, the figures are here, the residential values against the rate in the dollar do not relate to the rates raised. If Rex could quickly go, and the capital value, for example, for residential of $432 million, multiplied by the rate in the dollar of 0.003904, and tell me what the general rate will be raised is.
You're on, Rex, I reckon.
So councillor, first of all.
Okay, sorry, I'm just having a bit of trouble hearing. I'm picking up probably 4 out of every 5 words. One of the things that I believe we're looking at is the table on the top of page 28. Yeah. Okay. So I'm probably not a fan of including this type of information because of the confusion that it creates, and I think this is a good example of it, at the moment. One of the things I'd like to
expand on that, when council's valuations are worked on so much in the dollar of the valuation which we receive.
Sorry, I missed that again. Hang on, I've just got to shut a door. Might be a sec.
While Rex is shutting the door, do the council wish to go on for another 5 or 10 minutes? Question I have.
Yes.
So everyone who's leaving the meeting is happy to go on for another 10 minutes, right?
Okay,
Rex,
sorry.
got 10 minutes. You've got the floor, Rex.
Okay, so whilst valuations are important, and obviously they underpin the rate calculations, it's a bit of a mathematical exercise, and so the rate in the dollar and the capital values are components to a formula that are used to basically levy rates, and in this instance, we work to an overall total. I think it's about $10.1 million we're trying to get across all the different types of rates, but that reflects what we received or forecast to receive for the 2019-20 year. Okay, and so from an elected member point of view, the focus needs to be on what the total revenue is that's going to be generated. Now, it gets complicated, as you can see, right? Because you look at the 2 columns, the 2019-20 capital value compared to the 2021 values. Okay, and you can see the swings and roundabouts all through it. So generally speaking, what you're going to have is that even though rate revenue for the whole community or for the whole council will remain the same as last year, the total rates collected, those properties in whatever land use category they're in, and there's quite a number of them there, those ones that go up in capital value when compared to a property that goes down in capital value, well, some of them will end up, the individual ratepayers will end up with rate increases, and others will end up with rate decreases. Some will end up with significant rate decreases if their property or class category of property or street was valued downwards, well then they'll go down quite a bit. Another ratepayer who might have built on and extended his house and been revalued upwards significantly due to capital improvements, or they may well get a fairly large increase. But one of the things that the type of data that's been presented here lends itself to are these specific questions that are actually very difficult to answer without a list of however many thousand ratepayers you've got and a comparison of what they paid last year compared to what they paid this year, and how that's varied according to how the capital values from the value generals have changed. So I guess what I'm saying is there's no easy answer to your question there, Councillor Arthur, but hopefully that gives a bit of perspective to it.
Well, Rex, you've just said that we base our rates on the capital value, correct?
That's right, yeah.
Working by the value general in any particular category, right?
Yeah.
Then we, the staff or whoever work out a differential, a rate in the dollar for each particular category, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's
you multiply your capital value by the rate in the dollar, that gives you the amount of rates you are going to receive, correct?
no. You see, that's where it's different. You see, this is where you at this point is where you've got to break it down to individual ratepayer level. You can't simply take the rate in the dollar and multiply it by the total capital value for that land use.
The overall capital value changes.
Because there is swings and roundabouts, councillor.
Yes,
So you can't multiply the top level.
And I think that's the point we're getting stuck on. What's become apparent to me is that it's a pretty difficult area to understand, and you know, and I try my best to explain it in layman's terms, but it's the sort of thing that, you know, would probably make a good topic. Sorry, Judy, is there?
I want Judy to speak, and I've got it near the mic, that's what I've done.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I think your question is those two columns actually include non-rateable properties as well. So therefore you cannot do the direct calculation cost. And I think it's over 34 million. They're actually council properties. So the total value of the district, including non-rateable properties, is the 1.9, but only
1.975, yeah.
Yeah, but that's including non-rateable. So you cannot multiply across. I think that's where your issue is.
And that's what Rick was trying to say. You can only work out on individual properties what you're trying to achieve, councillor Arthur. If you try to do it at the top level, it doesn't work.
If we took out the 34 million out of those 1.9 million,
I've worked
and then
out,
calculated.
I've worked out your capital value, gives you rate in the dollar, and gives you spreadsheet, gives you revenue rates of $7.007 million. But you're telling me there's non-rateable
There's non-rateable.
And you're coming up with 7.770 million, a 10% increase.
So that's why this table is not terribly useful.
Well, that's very, very deceiving.
Just take it out. We could take it out.
Might be useful.
I mean, I'd be really pleased to have that table redesigned, because you see, if this is how it's sort of being received in the chamber, it's probably also how the community are receiving it. Yeah. And when I look at other annual business plans that I've got more involvement in, like I haven't actually been directly involved too much with this section of the plan, other than to sort of cast an eye over it. But I never sort of go into this level of detail for the very reasons that we're experiencing at the moment, is that it basically can end up misleading people and people drawing, you know, incorrect conclusions. Sorry, Glenys, Councillor Taylor, have you got?
Councillor Taylor.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So another thing that's concerning on this particular table is the other column, which shows gone from 30.5 million up to 31.5 million. However, the differential rate, the general rates raised last year were 36,229. The general rates raised this year 2,923. Now that, of course, naturally sort of screams out as, hang on a minute, what happened there? If the valuation is increased, but we've gone down to 2,923 from 36,229.
Someone want to have a crack at answering that one?
It's just off the cuff. It looks like there's a digit missing, a decimal place missing there. Judy, do you know more about that one?
No, sorry, I'll have to take that one notice, I've just got to double check. My understanding that is correct. None of the, most of the non-rateable properties are under other. So, a lot of the rebates.
Nursing homes, that sort of thing.
Sorry?
Would that be in terms of public housing, nursing homes?
So that's a substantial difference, so I'd like
We'll explore that.
check that. And regarding councillor Arthur's query around what happened to the Motorsport valuation, the Motorsport valuation will have been in all along. I think what you need to look at is when it appeared under commercial. So at the moment, commercial is showing 74.5 million, and if it's valued at 35 million, at what point did it come on? At some point, it must have been around about 30, 35 million. So in what year did it go from 35 million to nearing up 70 million? And that will give you the answer to when it was included in the overall valuations.
Well, I couldn't find 18, 19 annual business day and didn't get valuations, capital valuations in it. So, but I had, 18, 19, 17, 18, 16, 17, 16, 15. But then in the process, the categories have changed over the time because bulk handling come in. And, we used to have 4 to start with, which was just residential, commercial, primary production, and vacant land. And now we've gone into 7 of them. But if that $34 million has been in the valuation all the time, where's been the rebates?
Hidden in the budget.
Like last year, we had $160,000.
There's a rebate in the budget. I'm going to wind it up because we actually have done another 10 minutes at 4:08. Right?
Can I just have one more comment?
Very quickly.
Very quickly. I'm really not happy with the budget because although we haven't increased the revenue, which I think is a fallacy, because by smoke and mirrors, we've increased our overdraft by 500,000. And that is a direct consequence of not increasing the revenue. So you might say, good, we haven't increased the revenue, but we've hit the debt. You've now got a debt of extra.
I think you're going to find some interesting friends in that debate, Councillor. I might make the point that in relation to Motorsport Park, at some stage would have morphed from being primary production to a new land use category, and perhaps some research around what Sasha's nodding would be useful to settle the nerves and how that process eventually happened, just for our internal. Obviously, I'm moving us. We'll finish the 30 minutes now. I'm looking at the recommendation. I'm looking for someone to move that way, please. Councillor Taylor, you're moving that way.
Yes.
Right, and Councillor Roundtree, are you seconding that?
Yes.
Councillor Taylor, would you speak to them?
I don't think so. I think well, potentially we knew from the detailed conversations we had that we were going to, it was looking as though we were going to be 500,000 in the red as a result of the plan as it was presented to us. And the reason it is 500,000 in the red is because we took the decision to keep it at 0. And we took the decision to keep it at 0 because we don't know what's going to happen to the ratepayers in the district. So, but Rex has already presented a plan to get us back into the black. So it's not as though we're just ramping up the, undoing the good work that David and his team did at the last beginning of this year and ongoing partway into it. It's just a case of we've got to reflect the position of the ratepayers as well, because really we're the ones in a position to help them regarding their rates by not ramping them up and carrying that burden for a few extra years. I would remind this council that the initial budget for last year was 1.7 million operating deficit, which was reduced to a 1.3 million operating deficit when we went to a vote on this last year. So to end up potentially at the end of this year with a close to 500,000 in the red is a remarkable achievement, I think, and I don't think we should lose sight of that.
Councillor Roundtree,
I concur with everything.
concur.
I concur.
Anyone else wish to speak for or against the recommendation as it's read? Thank you. Councillor Taylor, you will close debate.
Yes.
Debate is closed. The recommendation in front of you, councillors. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? No under duress in this business. Those against? Carried unanimously. Councillors, I propose a 10-minute break, but before we go for a 10-minute break, I didn't know we had a birthday girl. But I'm going to give her the opportunity to cut a cake because I'm hungry. Congratulations, Sharon, on whatever vintage you are. Very well. Show it to the camera or what, I don't know. Happy birthday, Sharon. Beautiful cake. Thank you. I think Ashley was behind this. Alicia. She made me daughter this. Happy birthday. We'll have a 10-minute break, please, councillors.
Thank you.
Back in 10 minutes. It's 22 minutes past.
I'm probably the only one that has just a couple of concerns I wanted to raise.
Mhm.
I noticed that it says removal of requirements for councils to approve RDA-MR strategic or annual business plans, but then about a few more dot points down, it says RDA must deliver a 2023 strategic plan to the council. So they have to give us their plan, but we don't have to approve their plan. Is that what that's saying?
That's right, they have consulted with us.
But they will have
They
consulted.
have done that.
Okay, cool. The only other thing was the KPIs. I just found them a little bit interesting in that the first year is about feasibility studies for all 5 points. And then the second year was all about developing the business case. And then the third year was all about actually doing something. It's a lot of, to me, it seems like a lot of fluffing around to get to the pointy end. And what if in year 1 the feasibility isn't justified, then you don't do the business case, you don't do the work. So to me, there was, I think, a little bit of fluffiness around the KPIs and how will you manage that?
So, for you, Mary. Our discussions with the CEO of RDA, that they are trying to, I suppose, reset a little bit and to look more broadly. And so in their way of doing that was to say, well, what, in resetting what RDA does, we have to do some feasibility studies around what the community wants and where we see our place in the world. So that, and I think it's RDAs across Australia going through that sort of a reset. So this was his way of saying, we're not just going to roll everything on that we've been doing because sometimes it may not suit anymore. We're starting to look at, and really is that post-COVID type of thing as well. What is it about the community that is now different because maybe the past doesn't inform the future anymore? So,
and through you, Ms. Mayor, do they talk more about what they mean by words like improved or increased? I mean, they're also very vague statements. Could be a 1% increase and they tick the KPI.
So through Ben, the CEO will come back to council whenever we want to talk about those KPIs and where he's up to. So I think we should take that opportunity maybe on a regular basis so that we can not monitor, but certainly understand what they're doing and how they're measuring. It's, in a sense, it's not up to us to measure, it's up to us to feed into what they're looking at, to be part of the conversation, to what is the feasibility studies, what is it from a council perspective we need from the RDA and make sure that they're taking account of that.
And
they change as the federal government's thing changes.
My last question was the flow onto the Coorong. Do you believe that this region will benefit in what the RDA are going to do? Like, do you see a natural connector through to us?
Absolutely. RDAs, in a sense, are the research arm and the information arm for councils of our size. They do a bulk of work that we as a council could never afford to do.
Okay, good. That's all.
Councillor Ling.
Thank you, Ms. Mayor. This sort of goes on the same lines, and I have asked this question before in council. At this time, are we really seeing bang for buck? I know we've got a new director or chair or whatever he is for this particular RDA office, but I was quite concerned previously. All the work was being done and seen up in the Riverland. I never really saw the Murrayland actually even getting mentioned. I know some businesses have benefited, but I'm really wondering for the amount of money we're paying into this, are we really making true benefit from our association?
I can't speak for the past, and I think we monitor into the future and then make another decision. But as it stands now, RDAs have a firm place generally in relationship to the council and providing research and work on our behalf.
Councillors in this order, Councillors Bland, Hill and Taylor. Away we go, Sharon. Lovely
okay.
cake, by the way.
It was, I will thank my origin later. I would just like to probably make the comment that I know we've received a lot of information about RDA in the past, particularly around stats and requirements, backing up some of the projects that we need information on to get out. So that's my first point. The second one, though, that does concern me a little bit is around the major project investment. 1.1 on a feasibility study compared with one large multi-million-dollar project, which may all well fit in their budget. However, we are a very diverse region, given that we are Riverland and Murrayland, and I take on Councillor Lee's point is in that how will we be involved in assisting decision-making process if there are more than one multi-million-dollar project that needs to come up and be discussed, and how will that be voted upon? Fully aware they have a board. is our input, perhaps that is somewhere in the Marylands versus the Riverland, and it is a very diverse region. It's really
It's a final decision that they would make.
I think it's a point I think we should take back though.
I think we've got some good members on the board from this region, and we want to go on ensuring that's the case.
Thank you.
Councillor Hill.
Just in response to Councillor Lenn's comment, maybe as a council we haven't made as much use of the RDA as we could possibly have made in the past, and I think with preparing our community vision for the future, maybe they could be utilised a lot more for that. And also for 26 grand, you couldn't employ another staff member to do the work that we need to do to get the foundations of information that we need to put into those sort of infrastructure projects and other activities we might like to do in the future.
You're right. Councillor Taylor.
Councillor Hill just stole my thunder.
With furious agreement.
It is a case that really what you put in, you get out of it what you put into it, kind of thing. So perhaps we haven't been as proactive in the past as we should have been in ensuring we've had value for money. And I'm sure with all of the the things that staff have to deal with, I'm not surprised at that at all. I think that now we're better informed, perhaps, of the availability of the RDA and how we can use them on positive impact that our staff, our top team will make vast use of our 26,000.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Arthur, you will close debate. I'll therefore put the recommendation as it reads. Councillors, all those in favour? Those against? Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Item 4, Code of Conduct. Report. Yes, Councillor.
I question why and under what authority this subject has been brought to the public forum at this stage, when at our confidential meeting on the 27th, it was voted unanimously to keep it in confidence.
Okay. Who would like to answer that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. We're obliged under the elected members to Code of Conduct policy, and if you said at the notice, the Code of Conduct 2.24 is stated in the report. A breach of the behavioural code must be the subject of a report to a public meeting of the council. So we're obliged to provide a public report with an overview of what the Code of Conduct was about. I can't be silent on it.
Okay. And on that point, I will be calling for us to go into confidence. There are issues to be discussed, serious conditions to be discussed, and I ask that this matter be moved to the confidential section.
Is it in relation to this particular report, Councillor?
Yes.
As in this officer's report today? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
I can.
There are serious matters which will have ramifications on this council.
This has been put on the public agenda. To my knowledge, you haven't expressed your concerns prior to this. I'm informed that it has to be. Well, from Friday night, you had the opportunity to do that. This particular report has to be in the public domain eventually, or a report around this. I'm trying to work out whether I can even take a motion to go into confidence. What I'm looking at. So I'm told that I really am not in a position to take a motion to go into confidence. So I don't know where that leaves us, Councillor.
In serious trouble if we proceed.
Point of order, Matt Simmons, but I think that's uncalled for language from Councillor Lang, and he must respect the staff's knowledge and expertise in this matter.
Okay. I am going to continue with the agenda as it is at this point. Now I'm going to ask There's a report there. Is there a councillor who wishes to move the recommendation?
Mr Mayor, I'll move the recommendation that the council receive a public report regarding the three code of conducts complaints under the code of conduct of members, council members made against councillor Lang. That's point one. Point two, the council release the final investigation report from the local government governance committee from confidence and include in the minutes. And do you want me to wait for a little bit there, Councillor? Release the final investigation report from the local government.
So, councillor.
Governance committee.
Councillor, in relation to your second point.
Yep.
They don't get released.
Through you, Mr.
Yeah.
Mayor. Included, they're not included in the minutes, they're just released from confidence into the confidential, out of the confidential register, so people can see.
So you'll notice
The report that we have received from them is still in confidence.
That's right.
And I want that removed from confidence.
Sure. So
Just
councillor,
the wording.
what I would recommend to you is you'll note in the last paragraph, members will note that no recommendation has been provided with this report in relation to the release of these documents from confidence. And this is the documents I believe you're speaking of. Such a matter requires discussion and decision by council, as officers cannot presume the action council may resolve to follow. What I'd suggest is that there's been work done on that motion if you require after this first motion. If you wish to have the EMA legal report, we could deal with that as a separate motion.
We'll receive the report, but then to get the report out of confidence, we still need another.
And that's what I'm saying.
You want
Because
another
we're on this
motion,
issue.
make them two different.
I would rather, for a variety of reasons, have them as two separate motions, councillor. But it's up to you. You're at the moment moving a motion, but I'm suggesting a way forward.
I'll move the first motion.
Just move it as read.
Council receive the report.
As read. Thank you. There's a second. Councillor Roundtree. Councillor Arthur, you wish to speak to the recommendation?
No, it's straightforward. And it is a code under the LGA Act that the or code of conduct, and there'll be a few more that will have to be released when they're finalised.
Thank you. Councillor Roundtree.
All I will say is that I don't believe the report as it's written explains enough about the fact that a code of conduct was actually breached. I think it needs more context. Looking at it from a public point of view, it just states people made a complaint, and an investigation was conducted, and the person in the wrong had to apologise. And I think it's too vague, which is why I will support the next motion coming, that we release the full report, which has the context of what is needed to put this matter to bed. So I will be supporting this motion and the next one.
Thank you. Councillors, looking for any other debating points? There's no more debating points. You'll close debate, councillor.
Vote's closed.
Vote's closed. It's very straightforward. It's the recommendation as read. All those in favour? Those against? It is carried 7-2 with councillors Yench and Ling voting against it. Thank you. Which leads me to the second part. If councillors wishes to release the report, the EMA legal report, the final report from confidence, which we can do now if you wish.
So you want
Happy to second that.
We haven't got a mover. I've got a question. I've got a councillor Arthur's just a fraction ahead of you, councillor. So, do you wish to move a motion that
the council release the final investigation report?
there's some words put up there for your assistance? So there's some words on the screen. Is that right, Ashley?
Oh, sorry.
In case you councillors wish to go down this.
Oh,
path.
Remove. Yeah.
If councillors wish to go down this path, the wording would be reasonably strong, correct, or whatever. Are you moving that way, councillor Arthur?
Yeah.
Right. Is there a seconder?
Yes.
Is there? Sorry, councillor Van had a question. Quite. Sorry.
I'd like some clarification on the intent of and the process around releasing that document through you, Mr. Mayor, to
It needs to be a motion of council to release that document if you wish.
and where does that document go then after that? Where is it?
No, it doesn't go in the minutes. It's released from the confidential register. So
Yes.
it's accessible.
So individuals have to therefore ask for that document.
It's on our website.
But it's not actually in minutes.
No, these documents don't go in minutes. Minutes are just the motion.
Just for clarity, then, sure.
So councillors would otherwise, in a normal course of events, consider this in the 12-monthly cycle. Coming up fairly soon, perhaps. Right, I have a mover and a seconder of motion 000, additional motion 20. Is there any debate about this?
Question.
Yes, councillor Hill.
So, like the previous one, this is required under governance to be released, or is this just a wish of council?
It's a determination of this council. The current procedure doesn't speak to that actual investigation report from the local governance panel being released, therefore I haven't. If this council determines to release it, then it can be. It's okay then.
Any other questions? Councillor Yench.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I presume you're speaking on a question.
Yeah, I am speaking. Look, I will be voting against. I believe it's not conducive to healing things in the chamber to be dragging these things out as quickly as we possibly can. I understand that there is a lot of anxiety and unrequited resolution with a great many people, but I do not believe this form of humiliation is necessary.
Okay, I'm down to the move. The seconder actually hasn't really spoke, so I'll give her the opportunity now.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, what was not conducive to healing was the fact that Councillor Lang still, after giving his apology, took no responsibility for what happened. So that was
Remind councillors we're not in conflict.
Okay.
First thing I might do. So,
All right, that
Okay.
was not conducive to healing. I think there's been opportunity where different things could have happened and they haven't. I'm trying to say this now, realising that we I actually can't say anymore now, so I'll be quiet.
there you go. Any other councillors? Councillor Lang, yes.
Thank you. I would caution the council in releasing the findings of the governance panel. There contains a lot of defamatory and unproven statements.
Councillor, once again, I'm going to say to you, be very careful. Please, be careful with your words.
I would move for an amendment to the motion to release the recommendations of the governance panel only. If the full contents of the findings are released to the public, I have no other action other than to take further legal action against the council.
So you would like, councillor Lang, the recommendations of the governance panel board to be released. They are, I'm told, effectively in this public report. Be that as it may, I'll let you move that amendment, and I'm trying to remember who has not spoken to this motion. Well, council, not put any pressure on your councillors. I'm going to sit here and allow someone who thinks they haven't spoken yet to do it. Otherwise, it'll just lapse for one of a second, or only get about 5 seconds. Okay, that has lapsed for one of a second, to councillor. We move back to the original motion, as is on the screen. Councillors, anyone else wish to speak? There being no one, councillor Arthur will close debate. Thank you. I will put that, so we're talking about 000/20 as it reads. Please, councillors, all those in favour? Those against? That's carried with councillors. Councillors, who's voting for? Councillor Simmons, Qualman, Arthur, Taylor, Roundtree voting for it. And councillors against, councillors Bland, Yench, Hill, and Lane. Thank you, councillors. That is carried. And the one other point I may ask in this process is, at no point in all these processes, and since I've been on this council, has always said costs of these processes being put up as part of a report. Is there a reason why we can or cannot?
No reason to take that notice, Mayor. We may not be able to finesse it to the degree of each particular legal issue. We don't get the accounts like that, but we'll certainly be able to.
So councillors, obviously I'm aware of these processes and occasionally the Deputy Mayor is aware of these processes, but they do cost council money when they're lodged. In this one.
Through you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Might I ask that
Yes, yes.
all legal processes that we've gone through, and it's disappointing to hear, it's the second time I've heard it now, that we receive lawyers' fees without it broken down per case or per issue, and that we try and rectify that, because if this seems to be an ongoing problem that we're going to have, then I would like to see what each issue costs. Even if it is a confidential report, because I'm not even aware at this point in time what sort of money that has cost.
And neither am I.
And I think that is most disappointing.
It could be an addition and a future thing for the staff and to consider, because
And I think the lawyers, I mean, they charge us by the minutes. They must know per case what it is, even if they send us a lump sum bill.
my point would be code of conducts don't come at no cost to this business.
I'm aware.
And I can't tell you, of course, what I'm dealing with at the moment. Councillor Roundtree is actually next.
I was actually going to move a motion to that point, Mr. Mayor, that the full cost of this process be investigated and a report brought to council. So I would like to move that as another motion.
You're moving that way?
Yes.
We can, most of the activity from last year, and there were a number of issues all at the one time. I'm aware that most of the accounts that came from the solicitors were, basically, there was some breakup, but it was certainly not, and then we didn't capture that breakup. If we are to go back now, that will require some work to examine it, and I suppose I would be, may also have to go back to the lawyers to get some further clarification around some of the accounts, which they will charge us for. So we will do, first of all, we'll see what we can find from our internal records, but if we have to go back to the lawyers to get clarification and further breakup, I'll come back to you.
Councillor, I'd ask you to consider perhaps the words full cost, but rather the estimated costs.
I'm happy to go with estimated costs, and even if, could that include staff time as well on matters?
Be careful what you
Monetary
ask.
value, okay. Well, I don't know, just, it
So-
would be interesting to understand what
Yes.
this is costing us
Absolutely.
to deal with.
Yeah,
We can do that.
Through you,
please.
Mr. Mayor, in a past life, I have provided that information to our council. Because we are staffed up right down our alley rate for how much time we spend on each whatever's across our desk. It is, I guess, a guesstimate on the hours spent, etc. But I have provided that previously, so I can do it along the same lines.
The reason, councillors, I asked that the words estimated be in there is that in satisfying a previous inquiry about legal costs, we had the opposite issue, if you want to understand, about what was allocated where, and it was simply nigh on impossible given the amount of stuff we were doing in that period of time. I see, so Councillor Goodrich, you see your hand up? No. I'm awaiting a seconder. That's what I'm actually firstly awaiting. That's what I'm doing.
Question in relation to this.
Yeah, I'll just take the seconder over there being Councillor Taylor. Sorry, Councillor, I'm going to go to Councillor Bland's question.
in relation to this estimated cost in relation to code of conduct process, in relation to which code of conduct, how many of them, and which legal fees are we talking about? Because there has been a series of issues, not just code of conducts, I'm gathering. I would like a full, and I don't think we can just pick out one code of conduct, I don't think.
I don't know, but look, I would read this to be around this subject, it will be this subject.
That is my motion on this subject.
It's not
Yeah.
transparent,
Well,
everything.
well, the point, councillor, would be, I'm looking at this, is that on the completion of a code of conduct where this is found to have happened, it must be reported to the public, and it could be reported, and it hasn't been this one so far, the costs. Councillors, if a report is not successful, it's found to be not valid, unless the person that the complaint is made against, you were never informed, you were never informed of the cost that the council puts through in dealing with that process. Am I going, Manager? In other words, if we're dealing with code of conduct complaints that fail, or some might say are vexatious, or whatever, you will never know unless you are the complainant, or the victim of it, sorry, or the subject of it, victim of the wrong word, unless you ask for it to make public, it's not made public. And so, unfortunately, what I can't tell you is what I can't tell you. But it is costing this organisation time and money.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it appears to me that then we are spending a lot of attention on lawyers' fees, that we are, because of that issue, potentially, because we don't know that, kept in the dark until such times as it comes up. We don't know the figure. I would at least like to know what it is that we have paid to lawyers without necessarily the code of conduct against them, or the other issues that we are not entitled to know.
Trying to read between the lines of what you're asking.
I want the dollar figures.
We'll, so you may, we'll see what we can do in terms of break up and bring it to council.
What's legal?
I just say at the end of this perhaps, is that when I say legal fees, it is cost of the process of that report is we pay. It's not someone else paying something.
All fees.
It's we pay. Okay, is there anyone else who wants to debate this motion? Second, yes. Councillor Roundtree will be the closer of debate, if that's the case.
Closed.
Closed, thank you. Councillors, took the motion. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Move on to 11, council policies, fraud, corruption, misconduct and maladministration. There's a recommendation, councillors. Trust you've read it perfectly, councillors. I'm going to go to Councillor Taylor, then Roundtree. Move in a second. Discussion around that? Don't rush me. Councillor Taylor, you close it. Thank you. All those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. Internal review of council's decision-making processes. Number 2 is a recommendation. Report as tabled. Councillors, the alumni, Councillors Roundtree and Taylor. We've got a rate setting process to go through, councillors. Any discussion around this? Trust you've read it carefully. We'll close, councillor.
Closed.
Thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? It's carried unanimously. Number 3, disposal of council land and other assets policy. Yes, councillor 1, 2. Sorry, I'm going to go with, no, I'm going to go with councillors Kwong and then Inch. Sorry, just give me a second, please. I've got to find it. I lost it. Yeah, I've got a question. 7.3.1, where is it gone? Seven point 3.1. I'm going to go to the third paragraph, 7.3.1, please, and someone can please tell me why council staff or councillors will be given priority over the public at that point.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, sometimes there's equipment, for example, 2 chairs, something like that, that we no longer require. So the notion of this is that community and sporting groups are offered that first. They often come across where we don't get any takers on that or any offers. What do we do with them then? So then we put in to try and, I guess, get some dollars back off the community, staff.
So we last resort.
Yeah, last resort.
So community, through Mr. Mayor, community comes before council.
Community and sporting.
And then, yeah, so not, yeah, good.
We've really tightened it up in relation to council members, council staff.
I think that's it.
Is there a dollar figure on that through? Like, are we talking about something under? I mean, I'd hate to think that was could potentially be.
It's minor.
There's no-
It's minor expenditure, there's 5,900.
Under 5.
You got the same look as me, councillor.
I mean, I'm not. Or staff.
You're not, sorry.
The definition in the policy is minor plant equipment, assets that are deemed to have residual value singularly or below the asset disposal value set by council. This category may include loose tools, store items, furniture, second-hand items removed from other assets such as air conditioning, pavers, and exercise equipment.
Right, I'll tell you why I've raised the issue, because it could be seen that, for whatever reason, councillors will start advantage themselves of this. And I'm probably of the view that that paragraph could be touched, eliminated, and it would remove us and put us in the same category as the public.
Yes.
I've noticed everything's going to web and online and other things that are foreign to me. But the point is that not everyone sees that. But I'm looking at the, sorry, I want to get the approval of the mover in a second to eliminate that. One paragraph.
Which point was it?
7.3.1.
I'm happy to do it.
I'm getting 1, 2. Count the mover and second, the ones that matter. They look like they're happy. Does everyone understand that we'll just simply take us out of the process until a public offering? That's all we'll do. Okay. Any other debate around this subject? There being none, councillor Brown, for your choices again.
It wasn't me this time.
Well, that's what I've written down.
Oh, it's okay.
No, I'm on the wrong page, sorry.
I'll close anyway.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried unanimously. Hang on. Remove. Number 4. Complaints handling policy and procedure under council's members' code of conduct. Recommendation there, councillors?
I have a question.
Yes.
And I'm happy to move it as well.
Yes. Ask your question, please.
Okay, so under 3.2.2 fellow council members, I don't see in the document at all where it's written that council members will not threat or cause injury to fellow council members. We haven't specifically mentioned that. We talked about other things, but not about situations that we've encountered before. So I'm wondering whether that could be brought in somewhere, or is it covered in there somewhere and I've just missed it?
Real, sorry, I would put that comes under bully or harass.
But I think bully or harass is a very different set of words. You wouldn't go to SAPOL with a bully or harass, would you? But
No.
but something more physical you would. I just thought we should possibly stipulate it so it's very clear that it won't be tolerated.
So you may, the other way you could look at it is that conduct relationships with courtesy, respect and mutual trust is the reverse of what you're suggesting, so. if that-
That's legislation. That's legislation.
So you can't really change the words of the legislation.
This is council's policy.
So this is a council.
No, this is council's
Council's
policy. We can add specific
We can
ones
add to
for
it.
this chamber if you like.
So I gathered the overall wording of it was in a positive sense, things that you will do politely to each other. Do you feel then it is, that those incidents are covered under this policy? Because I don't want to go to a policy again, which appears weak in how it deals with matters, and we're all left up in the air, not wondering, not knowing what to do because it's not specified.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I may. I would suggest that the wording there covers
Okay, well, you
most,
will-
most, I would say, all acts of
well, I'll take your,
harassment based on point A. If you're physical with someone, then you're not conducting a relationship with courtesy and respect. So it's
okay,
like that.
all right, well, I'll accept that.
Councillor Taylor, you have your hand up.
I'm seconding it.
Sorry, thank you. Right, it's open for debate.
Question in relation to
Yes.
point B, Mr. Mayor.
E.
And just some clarity about what it means in relation to refrain from making derogatory comments about fellow members of decisions made in the council chamber in any format. Does that mean past and present?
This covers all chamber decisions. When you do your oath, you're swearing that you will abide by the code. This is just defining more.
You're asking whether if someone was to make a derogatory comment about a previous council.
Previous council, previous decisions. Is that, it's still a decision of this council, whether you're a current member or not.
It
So
would,
it's just past and present.
it would in all formats,
Thank you.
I would read that.
Especially the chamber.
In the council chamber in any format,
Thank you.
any format. Well, in any format. Right. Sorry, Deb, please.
Sorry, if I can just-
Councillor Arthur, don't feel so excited. Please.
If I could just explain that, that is an example, E is an example of specific to this council chamber. So they're not bully or harass other council members, that's part of the code of conduct that's across the board. These are specifically for this council chamber, so you're by adopting this policy and procedure, you're agreeing that for this chamber, that's the behaviour.
Which hasn't been in the previous
No.
policy
No,
councils.
Sure.
Councillor Taylor, yes.
Just, page 6, just a numbering error.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, of the actual policy. You may tell me.
Numbering error on page 6. Okay. What else in relation to number 4? There has been no more debate. Councillor Renfrew, you will close.
Close.
Thank you. I will put the motion as read. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Number 4. We move to section 41 and 43 committees. Audit and Risk Committee minutes of the meeting on the 2nd of June. There's a recommendation. Councillor Hill, you'll be moving that way, thank you. Councillors, is there a second? Councillor? No, I'll go to Councillor Fleming. Any discussion around those minutes, councillors? You close it, councillor. Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. There was a bloke hearing in the window. Can we get him, please? I don't know why, but we'll get him. Maryland and Riverland Local Government Association minutes of the 8th of May 2020.
Can I ask you a question, please? Mr.
Certainly.
The Roads to Recovery, Tony Payson advised that he's asking for shovel-ready projects to be brought forward and encouraged local government to submit correspondence regarding this as soon as possible. I gather these are for road projects only. It's said it was roads to recovery. Does that mean it's new road projects?
Road to
That
recovery.
is shovel ready. So do we have road projects shovel ready to hit him up with some money?
So with roads to recovery money, generally, we have a hierarchy of roads that we will do, and the funding comes in from a couple of sources. The funding can be from rate revenue, and we know that with rate revenue, and I'll make this up, say $2 million, we can do the first 3 roads in our hierarchy that need it, and then we'll get roads to recovery money, and we know that that's about $3 million again, so we can do down to number 6 maybe in terms of the hierarchy. So it's not in a sense naming the priorities to get the money, because the money generally comes every year. It's one of those grant funding that come every year, but it gives us the capacity to double our.
So it's not extra money. He's not announcing any extra money there. It was simply just saying.
I'm not sure what
business
you're
as
reading.
usual.
No, he's not.
No,
It was in his, it was in his.
Sorry,
report,
councillor
so-
Arthur attended in my absence.
Okay.
But that's not the way I see it, and I have said to the federal member that it would be useful, for example, in this latest allocation, which we still have not received.
And we've asked several times.
We've asked several times, if we do understand, is there an absolute split between roads and just general shovel ready, as they might like?
And in the absence of that, I think we've got enough information still to have a serious discussion.
Discuss
and
about
shovel it ready.
pretty soon, but it is, those who have the goal make the rule.
I gather.
It's the best way. But,
Alright.
hopefully play by their rules if they've got enough goal. We're going to move in a second. Is my question. We're on Marylands Riverland, item 2. Local Government Association, the minutes of the 8th of May. Councillor Taylor, who's moving them.
Yeah, I'll move it. And I also note councillor Arthur's left the chairman.
Councillor Ling, I thought, so your name.
Second.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll get in there sometime today.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Oh, but the easier, that's straight one. Any discussion around that? There's been none. Motion was in favour. Those against? It's carried. Councillor Lane, not Councillor Lane, Councillor Arthur is not there. But he's back after the vote. Number 13, Corporate and Community Report. Move to item number 13 on my agenda, delegation under Planning, Development and Infrastructure Act.
So voted.
Councillor Lang, thank you.
Second.
Councillor Yang. An update on delegations. Is that the long and short of this? Any discussion around this subject, councillors? There being none. Close, thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That's carried unanimously. Adoption of the 2020-21 budget, item 2. Councillor Taylor,
I'll move that way.
thank you. Councillor Bland. I presume you're seconding it, councillor?
I was.
Oh, offering a request.
I am.
Is there debate around that one at all? You're closing, councillor Taylor. Never a shorter budget have I got. I'll put the motion. All those in favour, please. Those against? That's carried 7-2. Councillors Ling and Yench voted against it. The rest of us, sorry, the rest of us good councillors voted for it. Number 3, adoption of the valuation 2020-21 as of Saturday night, I understand. Have we got, sorry, stop. Have we got an updated one? Is that what's on the screen?
Yes.
I don't.
That's the updated amount.
1 minute. $1,978,000. It's a lot of money.
It is.
833,840. Thank you, councillor Yench. That's June the 20th. Councillor Yench has moved. This is the valuation, councillors. The budget process. Thank you, councillor Taylor. Seconds. Any debate, discussion around this? There is none. You happy, councillor Yench?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Number 4, sorry. Adopt declaration of the differential rate and charges. Has there been work done on this at all?
Mr. Mayor, before we move it, I think we better put some O's in front of that, or some noughts in point 0.3904, unless we'll break everybody. There's a few noughts missing.
I'm just stopping the meeting for a second because I'm seeing if this is being updated or changed at all. This particular motion. Given some previous issues, is the way that's worded in A, B, C, D correct? Sometimes it says point. Oh, yeah, and Judy, please. Judy, the only reason I asked you to come forward is I need you to be in that mic because I see Rex is back on screen as well. So it's about the mic as much as anything. That's all right.
Through you, Mayor, it is correct because when we actually do the multiplication, because the cents in the dollar, you do automatically add the 2 zeros in front.
But that says 0.39 cents in the dollar, not O.
And previous years it was exactly the same. The legal, because it says it is cents in the dollar, it's got to be divided by about $100, 100%. So when we multiply out, it will be 00.
Yeah.
391.
Well, why is it 00?
Yeah.
Because it's the word.
We're moving something that's not right.
We can put them in, councillor.
Yep, I'll just take out the word cents.
Yeah, it's just only that.
So you'd like that?
We'll take it cents.
I still have a mover or a seconder, I might add.
If that provides clarity, we're more than happy to change that.
You have?
Yes, councillor Taylor, I still have no mover.
She is moving.
I know, but I'm asking you if you are.
Yes, I am moving.
Councillor Hill is second, thank you. I'm going to ask you a question. In arriving at those different differential rates, did we just reduce each of them by whatever, the same percentage, or did we vary them given a difference by rating category of valuation on average?
So with the changes in the valuation on Saturday, how much did it move the figures in this report this morning when we checked it?
They're not, that's just because most of it is growth.
Yeah, no, that's not the question I'm asking.
Oh, sorry.
No. Because if we read some documentation we've been given, the valuation of rural land probably went up about 13.5% in some great spreadsheet. You hear me, Rex? Unmute, please.
I'm just taking it in. Keep going with your question.
Because primary production land average about 13.5% increase, and the average all the others is about 7.5%, all the other categories. My question is, have we just reduced the rates in the dollar or the calculations based on an average of those two, or have they been done separately so that the result is that no particular rate payer is advantaged or disadvantaged by our decision?
Now, I didn't undertake the rating directly, but from what I understand happened, and Judy, you might be able to confirm this, we identified the amount that was raised from rates from that primary production area from the 2019-20 year, and then adjusted the rate in the dollar so that it took into account, so the rate in the dollar is adjusted downwards, so it took into account the increase in capital values. So overall, as a land use category, the aggregate would remain the same. Now, again, there may be variances from one ratepayer to the next if the differential between the two capital values of each property were different. But overall, that's how I believe the process was undertaken. Is that what you did, Judy?
So basically by category, the amount of dollars have been reduced.
Because you see, you'll notice in one of the motions, in one of the reports, they talk about differential from the, say, residential is 100%. I think primary production was a percentage of residential, commercial was a percentage of residential. Okay, so that's how I believe your rate structure works, but I wasn't specifically involved with the actual calculations. So again, Judy, is that how you've undertaken it this year?
So we worked out what we needed, then we divided up percentage. We started with a rate of $1 for residential, divided it up to the residential 100%, then did the calculations of the differential, then put it across to the capital values for the properties, we end up with our rates. So as if we rated too much, we reduce that rate residential down, which recalculates the differential from the other. And it just keeps going through the circle until we hit what we need as a bucket.
So there's an interactive relationship between the two categories.
Okay. So yes, if the resident moves, the other three categories will remove with the percentages accordingly.
My second question is, if someone took rate capping last year and they had another 15% land valuation increase this year, what increase in rates are they paying this year?
We've done two scenarios now, I'm just checking the stuff that we've got.
Sorry, can I just answer that specific question? So assuming they play for a rate rebate or a rate cap, they shouldn't pay 10% more than they paid the previous year. So if they paid $100 last year, they shouldn't pay more than $110 this year. It's a 10% rebate cap you've applied, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the simple answer to that question.
So they could have a deferred liability of, say they were 17% last year and 17% this year.
Yep.
Still 14% the following year.
That's right. Okay, and I fully understand that, and I think it's good that you've brought this up, because to me it seems this is the key issue to be determined in your rate review, and so what you're getting back to there is the relativities that Judy was using to calculate the rates in the dollars, and effectively are the current relativities reflective of the incidence of tax that you want your ratepayers to bear. So in layman's terms, should the primary producers be paying as much as they are, given how much their capital values have increased over the past few years, or should that be reduced and the incidence of tax passed to the other land use categories? And that's the question that really needs to be answered when you're doing your rate review with David Hope. So accordingly, there's from what I'm sort of reading between the lines here, there's a bit of a view that there probably does need to be an adjustment in that relativity. And so in the meantime, so that nobody in primary production is really getting hammered, you've set a rate capping level of 10% to ensure that if there are any real anomalies, that they're being picked up that way. So in that instance, right, that I was saying before, if a primary production ratepayer paid $100 last year, and his rates went up such that probably should have been $120 this year due to the capital value increases, because we've capped it at a 10% increase, he only pays 110. And then what happens is that extra $10 that we're looking to raise gets redistributed amongst the other ratepayers in the other land use categories. So that's where I think it sits at the moment, is that because you've got the rate capping, you've bought yourself another year to undertake a thorough rate review, and the issue that you're talking about here should really be the primary issue that is discussed when you're undertaking and consulting with the community on your any significant changes that you make to the differential rates as part of your rate review. So does that all make sense? Has anyone got any questions on?
I've got another one.
Sorry?
Is there any provision anywhere in the Act about a 3-year rolling average evaluation, or something along those lines to deal with these lump
No,
sum?
no, there's not. The best way to handle it is the way you're handling it, and that's by capping rates at the moment, and then reviewing them and undertaking a review. But no, it's not. It's. I know I think the tax office operates that way with certain things to do with primary production, but it's not how valuations and rating works in local government.
Question, if I may.
Councillor Yench.
Thank you. Rex, following on from the Mayor's analogy, of potential 14% outstanding, is that technically a debt owing on the property in 2 years' time?
No, it's not.
Is it retrospective?
So what it's doing is it's delaying the increase.
Yeah.
So let's say it should have been a $20 increase for each of 3 years. So years 1 and 2 have the rate capping. So there's an additional $10 paid in each of those 2 years. But then let's say in year 3, the rate capping isn't there. Well, then for year 3 only, there'd be an extra $20 compared to the base year. So if there were no rate capping in that example, they'd have paid $60 extra. Rate capping for 2 years at 10%, they're only paying $40 extra. So what the rate capping does is delay the increase until such time as the rate capping's not there anymore, or until such time as you change the relativities subsequent to a rate review.
But Rex, I'm sorry, where I'm coming from is that 14% gained over that 2-year period, that still sits in the ether waiting to catch up.
No, it doesn't. It gets redistributed to the other ratepayers and they pay it.
That's the problem.
Okay, so the $10 extra. So let's I'll just reset the numbers. So we got one. The first year is $100 rates. The second year, after the big increase in capital values, should be 120. But because we got rate capping, it's only 110. That extra $10 gets redistributed and collected from increased rate in the dollar across the rest of the ratepayer base. Okay, does that make sense? It's not lost and it's not a contingent liability. Does that answer your question, Neville? Yeah.
Just have one other question.
Councillor Bland.
In relation to bulk handling, we consider that as equal in relation to.
Sorry, would you be able to speak up? I'm really having trouble hearing you.
Sorry, Rex, I'm just in relation to the bulk handling zone. We're treating that in the same part of the process that we run as equal. I'm not sure whether we ever discussed that. Whether that means.
Sorry, I'm still having trouble hearing you. Sorry.
The question, Rex, is that the bulk handling zone, which we have a special additional rate because of the methodology of how they're allowed to calculate their valuation.
Yep.
We reconsidered that in this process. Sorry, Sharon, as well. And I'm probably looking more at Judy. We haven't changed the relativity, which is times by 3. Is that right? 2.85. Someone that valuation has dropped.
I did.
That's because they closed Coombe do.
Because they supply the value of general with their own depreciation. Depreciated valuation.
Right.
That goes back to this. Go
No, it's not. So, councillors, I've got a mover and a seconder around declaration of the rates and the fixed charge. Any further debate? Yes.
Not a lot at the moment.
So how many employment reduction actually claim the 10%? What percentage claim the 10%?
We anticipate there won't be too many.
No,
Last year.
Oh.
28,000, wasn't it? $28,000.
No, I think it was just over 20,000.
Yeah.
In total, but I'm not sure how many. Right, so it wasn't a huge amount.
No, if I tell you how many.
No, well, dollar bits.
How much we provisioned this year in the budget?
20. Thank you. Because the values haven't gone up.
The only difference it's really making, Rex, is the fact that, say, in 18, 19, the farmer produced.
Rex is over here, Tank. He's speaking to Rex, he's in the speaker. I know where he is.
57% of the rates, and now they're up to 65.8% of rates being paid by the primary producers. So, you know, with the very big, large increase in primary production, so, you know, $65 out of every $100 is paying by the primary producers in our council at present.
Councillor,
I
say something before Councillor Taylor, I hope.
all right.
Councillor Taylor, you got a question or you will you close the vote?
Just a question, are we reminding the ratepayers on their rates notice that they are entitled to challenge the valuation?
That's standard.
It's on the back, in the fine print.
Yeah, it just might be worth pointing it out. Because if they're very valuation.
So, you know, we're also advertising about the capping, about being able to defer payments, all the facilities that are already available. We're just going to be a bit more overt in letting ratepayers know, not just the fine put on the back.
Thank you, we'll close the debate.
Thank you. Thanks for the moment, Rex. All right, the vote's closed. The recommendation as it is in the agenda, we've shifted the double O's though.
Yes, we have moved it.
On the cents of dollars so that
It's just this
you don't get caught again. I put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Sorry, Councillor Arthur, you voted for or against this motion? You voted for. I didn't see it. It's carried 7-2. Councillors Lang and Jens voting against it. Number 5, declaration of the community wastewater management service charges. Councillor Kwong. Thank you. Councillor Taylor, you seconding?
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion around that? You want to discuss something?
Yes, please, Mayor. I would like to look at, in future, a reduction, a potential reduction on the vacant allotment charge and what that impact would be in dollars. So I'd just like to say the figure, the dollar amount, you know, I don't know, a couple of scenarios. I'm just conscious of a number of ratepayers who feel very aggrieved that their perception is that they're paying for something which they're not receiving. But not this year.
No, you had a second day.
It's round 5, isn't it? It's round 5.
That's what you meant.
Yeah, we're over here.
Councillor Taylor, as we look at the cost recovery of this and Galton's report and move a little bit more to that, the cost on the vacant land should go down because the cost recovery is much less than you appreciate. So there will be some movement both ways.
Thank you.
It'd be reasonable to argue that wastewater treatment plants don't wear out. People aren't using them. Or the costs of running them or whatever. Closing. Thank you. Righto, I'll put the motion as it reads. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously, I believe. Number 6, declaration of the water supply system service charges. Councillor Taylor, moving. Councillor Hill is the seconder. Debate. Closing. Thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Number 7, declaration of the 2020-21 curbside waste management charge from the CEO. Would like to say.
So when we started this process, we were putting a 2% CPI on it. This one, we forgot to take it out again when we wrote it. So it says 335, but I want to ask your indulgence and move that back to the 330 because we actually do say that no changes have been made from the service charge. So we will move that back to what we have said the whole way through the report, which will just say error in the business plan. We also didn't cut that piece out and change it. So we'll just change those 2 pages, one on page 30 of the business plan and put that back to 330 as is, because a business plan is saying we have had no increase to any of our fees and charges, and this one we just missed.
So moved.
Thank you, councillor Lang. Councillor Bland. Any discussion around that? We're closed, councillor. Thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Payment of rates on those dates. I was pleased to, I think, check if we didn't fall on a public holiday or Sunday or it was given me a bit of fair bit of grief. Councillor Taylor, you're moving that. Taylor and Roundtree is the second. Debate around those dates. Being none, we are closing. Thank you. I put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Number 9, rate capping. Recommendation they're dealing with that. Councillors Arthur. Yep.
If we've taken out the cents in the dollar in the other report, can we change this one to make sure
The wording.
it's 0.002? Yes,
On number 9.
oh, sorry.
Wrong. Number 9. We'll read in a second, wherever it is. Sorry, Councillor Bland for a second. Any debate around the rate capping process? And I think it's, thanks Rex for that very good explanation. Best I've heard for a while. Any discussion? Close. All right, put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously again. Number 10. This is a declaration of the regional landscape levies, which I presume on the 1st of July we changed the names of the 2 boards. Councillor Hill, thank you. You're moving that way. Councillor, come on. Councillor Roundtree. Second, any discussion around those? You note that one is a capitalised rate and one is a fixed charge. Which council you're better off in which version? I think
Better off in our area, mate.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Tom Brinkworth facing. That's one thing I do suggest that we as a council advise to the minister about the different methods of charging, because it's a considerable impediment being here against the southwest.
Doesn't even rain here. Councillor Taylor.
So is this the amount you're wanting to change?
Just a sense of
Yeah,
the
just
dollar.
a sense of the dollar, remove the word sense of the dollar, make the extra 2 zeros in there.
Oh, thank you.
So it's inconsistent with the others.
Thank you for that change. Be consistent. Does look better. Any further discussion? Thank you, councillor. Those in favour? Those against? Carried unanimously. The schedule of fees and charges is there.
Question.
Councillor Roundtree's got a question.
Yes. I just think we're looking at removing the cabin. That's going to be sold off. You can probably take the cabin out of that charge. Also note that the Canalpin Caravan Park is $5 more than the London. Is there a reason for the extra cost? And
News to be able to charge it, right?
It's always been.
so is there any cash it's left? All right. And then the other thing would be, as part of this review, we're looking at what to charge and what to do. We will then look at these figures as well.
For the following year, Jim.
For the following
Unless you want to
year.
bring it back to council, generally it's year by year.
Yeah, so if we were looking at making it a free camping site, then we would adjust these figures for that. And that will be part of that review.
And of course, we've also got the capacity to waiver these.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I ask that some changes be made to this document.
Open to the meeting.
Regarding Tiddamurra Town Hall, all facilities, personal, all facilities in the hire box. You change to projection. Enclosure. Also to be included there that the hire of the hall and projection for community movies is $50. And it's gone through the council, but it's not on here.
So which one do you want, Councillor?
Sorry? Yeah.
Tintinara Town Hall.
Yep. It's not in there.
So there was a lot of.
It was passed,
Yeah.
January, December, the new bio box. Where it's got bio box, that all needs to be changed all the way through.
To modern technology.
Yes. And also I just question whether you really need all this higher rates for Canalba.
So through your merit, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
In fact, because there was no increase in any of the cost of the charges this year, we've left it basically as it is, but the intention is to go through, first of all, even up the hall so they look and feel a bit the same in terms of what you hire and to tidy it up between you.
And also to be included in the Tintinara Town Hall is rehearsals and decorations. We're booking $15, the same as Harlem Bend.
You'd like to add that one now?
Well, it's not in there now, but it should be in there. Because they were paying $90 for the school to do their
They get it free now.
in the season, so. And it runs in with what Harlem Bend charge.
So let's work out what you just added, councillor, so we're not under the doubt.
Where it's got bio box, we added to upgraded facility, committee room under the bio box could be taken out. In there.
That part, can we just remove bio box and just have
Yeah, committee room under the bio box really can be taken out $10. And anywhere with the bio box needs to be changed, and also just the rehearsals and decorations, just to $15.
So in consolidating these charges, this will be interesting because we have got committees in place that will take an interest in this. But go forward with caution.
Question, Mr. Mayor, in relation to all three of them major town halls. At one stage, perhaps here, that staff were doing the counting of crockery and chasing. Is that still the practice, or has that changed and gone back to committee?
Chair, I never had an issue with since I've been here, so.
So we're not doing that with good hire. That's not that good. Great.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Still looking for a mover and a seconder after all this, councillor Browntree. Noting modifications and you seconding this, councillor?
Second.
Very kind of you.
With one proviso, that the water meter installation, $280 is miles to check. I think it costs $1,300 to get it, so water meter.
Whatever you may say for that.
Maybe that really does need to. Page 9, water meter application.
We'll include that in the review when we have another look at it.
Yes, that's needed.
Any further debate around this subject? Councillor Roundtree will close. Thank you. Put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried unanimously. Number 12, convertible cash deposit. Advanced variation, another reasonable result. So I'm trying to work out what the two lines are about.
The one is on this building.
That's this building one, yes, yeah.
Originally, now we just have the other one's just like a whole thing. It was used originally for swims, 2 or 3 years ago, because we've got a 10 or 12-year loan on it, still got about a couple of years on it. So part of that is being put in at the new rate. It'll only come in effect if we use the funds. At the moment, there is nothing in those pads. So,
Right.
so if we use them, we'll get them at the new rate over the next 3 years. And if we don't use them, we'll get them again.
Okay, thank you.
So basically,
Councillor Hill, you're moving that way, I trust. Move to make a saving. Very good.
Yes, I love that.
Just one question. This advance was for, that would be the outstanding money against the office building?
they use that as a, until they
We've
fix up.
got 2 outstanding loans, one's the office building and one's the
Sorry, so
seascape.
That's something from.
They're not being touched.
Oh, this is a cash.
This is the cash that they currently, when you guys get the building, they borrowed the cash pad and then put it into a fixed loan once they completed it. We've still got that pad still open that we can use. So for one particular month, if I don't get rates in, grants don't come in,
we
they
have-
borrow against it.
We haven't spent it yet.
At the moment, there's still nothing in there. But I have used it over the last couple of months, 100 here and 100 there, but as soon as I get the money, it's gone.
Seconder, please. Councillor Bland. Thank you. Any further debate about the flexible financial arrangements? Okay, put the motion. All those in favour? As against, that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillor. I think we've worked our way through the budgeting process. Thanks very much.
Okay,
Judy.
well, I might take this opportunity to wish you all a good night, and I think that's the finance section over with. So thanks everybody for having me.
Thank you very much, Rex.
See ya.
Cheers. Number 14.
Just before Judy goes, can I just ask one question? Did we have many applications for the reduction in income like they're not paying the rates? Because the last one was the 16th of June.
I don't believe we've had any others.
We've not had
No.
But
Less than
there's only
20.
been a handful anyway. So I'm sure we've had.
We can get you the exact numbers, but it's not been many.
No, I just wanted that.
My understanding, there hasn't been any since that first report went. Except the new year, that's probably been nothing for me.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you very much, Judy. Number 14, infrastructure and assets. There's a road renaming here. Someone want to move the recommendation? Councillor Fong, moving it as read. Thank you. Councillor Roundtree, you're happy to second that. Is there any discussion around that? Went past it Thursday. All good? Councillor. Yeah, no.
I did field a number of inquiries in regard to the community consultation. Everyone was happy with the explanation and obviously took no further with it.
Oh, very good. Councillor Arthur, you've indicated you want to say
No,
something?
just vote.
I did that one already. Okay. Indicates all those in favour. And those against, that's unanimous, and that has to be a certain percentage, doesn't it? Number 16. So, why would jump that? Infrastructure and assets, before we've done that. Information document, councillors, before we move back to conference. Yes, councillor Roundtree first.
With the meeting at the previous meeting, CEO, with the meeting that was having the real center of Murray Bridge with the riverbank collapse, is that still an issue with Murray Bridge?
They are just having another look at one of the options, given that any remedial action in terms of fixing the problem are cost prohibitive. They're really just looking at what other options there may be from a community perspective. From Coolong Council's perspective, it's not a bigger issue with Murray Bridge. They just want to bring it into the discussion with this the options so that it's a consistent approach. But it's not been an issue since I've been here, and David might some more background. But
And my second question was, with regards to Telemann Network, had a meeting, then how's our relationship with them? All good? Excellent.
Did they apply for any grants at all?
Not yet, but we are at the Star Club. Mark.
Mathematical.
And staff are looking for opportunities when they arise, but also to make sure that they're shovel ready. There's still, I think, in Council Taylor, comment that they may talk more, but they still, I think, going through that forming stage of what the hub looks like.
Councillor Taylor, yeah.
So on the back of CEO, that the netball club, I think their mind has been put at rest, especially because of the concerns over the adjacent land. There's a bit of confusing information there when they were told that it wasn't community land, and that's been cleared up. So I think they feel a lot more at ease now that they do have the land to expand into it, and I just feel they generally feel a lot happy.
And are we looking at, they've got 3 courts here at present. I'm probably wondering what they actually really asked for in their presentation.
4.
There's 4 there now, isn't there?
No, they want.
They want 4. So do they want to resurface
Yes,
court 3 and add a court? Is that the long and short of this discussion?
they want. I think they want the whole complex resurfaced. It is sort of hanging on by the students too.
Even courts 1 and 2, first
Yeah,
2.
yeah.
All right, and then make them to the standard as is happening in Peak and Tintinara over Whiting.
Yes.
And I think we learned at Menendee we may not have the standard courts the new standard either, unfortunately.
Yeah, they'll need to move their fence line.
Move the fence line again. So we might get their piece by this. Councillor Tony.
Yes, to the CEO. So the CEO's report, 22nd of May, promotion of the entrances with Martin Figure. So he, I imagine, was he wondering where the railway sleepers and the flag are, or?
Not so much that, but more about the museum across the road, whether we could play a part in, and I didn't quite understand why we don't, but making sure the boats were more up to scratch than they were, talking about opportunities that he'd seen in travels around South Australia. So no, it was really just a meet and greet with him to give me his view of what might be possible. We didn't talk to any length about the entrance.
Okay. So I probably just brought that up on my own. The other, regarding the information centre, one of the comments which was relayed to me by Dr. Shahin was it would be nice to have, something like a Square device so that they could take electronic payments, and just to try and lift them up into, closer to the 20th century. Also the 12th of June, conversation with Wellington East resident, so the unpotable water issue.
That was Mr. Smythe, who also put in the submission, so I rang him when he put the submission in to just, first of all, tell him that we've got his submission, thank you very much, and to talk about what his concerns were more broadly, and it was about bushfire preparation. And so Michael Vivian is also talking with him about that. So it was just a conversation to acknowledge his submission.
And I've had a long phone conversation with him around that general area of that issue.
Did he indicate that there are a lot of outages?
He didn't mention that.
No.
He did say what happens if there is an
What
outage.
happens if it's
Yeah.
What happens if there's an outage? His principal concern.
Thank you.
Any other things out there, Councillor Ling?
Yeah, thank you. If I may, through the chair, ask Director of Assets Infrastructure. A couple of weeks ago, there was a work crew working on the Nippy North Jetty. I see here you've just got board replacements. Can you expand on that? I know there were some boards replaced after the fire. What other boards were replaced on this occasion? They have to drop the rails and everything.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, it has been an ongoing program to replace the boards. A lot of the boards were damaged due to age and the cockies digging out the rotten timber. So, as I said, it's been an ongoing program to replace the boards. So, I think we're at now. It's all done.
We know what the cost involved.
Through Mr. Mayor, I'll need to have a look at the account, but I'm not within budget.
Councillor Roundtree.
I just wanted to say thank you to the staff for also putting in that information about the staff updates and having the photos and history about what they've done. I thought that was really useful. So thank you for doing that. If I can just say one more thing, great regional tours. So I know we talked about the Drought Communities program information in there. That tour around the place was a really good use of our day and thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, sorry if they want to. Okay, let's just hold the meeting a second.
Have you lost out by now? You like to ring the bell?
Hey, councillors, it appears that we've finished the non-confidential agenda. So Sean, at 5:50, we're going to do the process. So I'm sorry, I'll just read this out. For those watching the live stream, please be advised the meeting is about to move into conference and the live stream is still stop. For those who wish to view the end of the meeting, the video will be uploaded to the YouTube 1 hour after today's meeting. Stop it now, please. That'd be lovely. Members, you, no, all our members are